Good morning, brothers and sisters and fellow travelers on the path. This is a very special morning. We have a great living master, His Holiness the Karmapa, here to bless us and to share with us his erudition, his wisdom, his compassion, not just in terms of what he knows and what he will teach us and what he will impart to us, but really who he is. And I don't want to say very much as an intrude into the valuable time and space between the blessing and privilege of being in the presence of a great master and my mundane words. While His Holiness settles down, I'll just add and say that I think it has been my own sort of great blessing and learning from His Holiness that he brings to his wisdom remarkable freshness. I was going to say despite, but let me say because perhaps of his youth and the unfolding of his own journey, that as an enlightened Bodhisattva, he has in human form to traverse some of that journey a second time. And in that process, I think that he is able to remarkably connect in terms of the vocabulary and predicaments of our times. And the Foundation for Universal Responsibility of His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been hugely privileged and blessed, and really at the urgings of His Holiness the Dalai Lama himself, to host these set of teachings every year. And we're deeply grateful for His Holiness for creating the time from his busy schedule. And if I may just present a scarf on behalf of all of us here. And I have a bad neck and sometimes I'm a little unsteady, so my colleague Raji Ramanan here will sort of lead the proceedings through the day, but I'll be sort of hovering around in the background. So may I present this to His Holiness?
Day1 민두다. Day2 민두다. 다시 이러면 되거든. 관계 대지로 좀 가보면 예매봐 제발매봐 다음에봐 오면봐 좀매봐 다대주면 되지면 주변이 지지는 봐 소소하게 담바대라자즈로 원해서 나만 뭐지 나게 배매대조나 그래 준비고는 구성도 영어로 자도但咱们得通吗？我觉得日记，我让你啊，头前的声音。
So first I'd like to thank Rajiv. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yes. So first I'd like to thank Rajiv for organizing these teachings.
아니, 가서 안디 초보되면 universal 가서 responsibility. 공 universal responsibility 랭게 처음이라도 와. 근데 인도산에 공 랭게 처음 투제서 시라요래 디비네 나리아 야네 야도데 게당시 아니 저한테 최现在 아무도 근데 송어래 근데 인도 당에 미세 최스 전에게 근데 전에 다 당하나 최 럽정 시대 얼마 최 신경나 차요 근데 인도 예 양답을 시도야 가라고 시다래 다 임비네 이제 최다로 붙이나 얘는 아주 최다로 붙이나 더 유르바
So also to this association called the Foundation for Universal Responsibility. So it's a very big responsibility that you've taken upon yourself, and also you are inviting me every year to give teachings to you. So you asked me to give teachings, but I myself, I'm only a student. I only study the Dharma. So to teach teaching is actually a big responsibility. So I don't know if I can do this very purely, but let us see. Let's examine and see. Can you hear me? If it's like this? This one says everybody is a substitute. I'm also a substitute, and the translator is also a substitute. Everybody, sorry, excuse me. Everybody's nervous. I'm also nervous. The translators are feeling nervous.
잠잠 맥데 내가 제일 맞지 excuse 아무도 와니 니디는 지금도 넘버
So the microphone not working is also a very good excuse.
다 그러죠. 뭐지? 대야빈이 마치 공시장원 전부 에너지 송주에 세용 장가래 아니자 ane konsi tengo chum choge sungzhe zi na ji di to liang ai nima ji shokbe ji li ja chong song tene du sa ne gab du sa ne chona de ya o kiran samar ya ane master grade master samar din je ge ne chung ne chue to ya yin du sa ta ba ji da di ge ba ji da ga satisfied someone dig the best of she the mang message teaching check was I know some sort of teach test that you mean that could reach yes and then is the name of the poster 에방에 teaching yours post 좀 자샤 드린다 마제는 저기 요소 말해 다들 인주스 드린데 teaching 자데다 조디 chapter 토리아 아니 까말레 실레제베 kumrin parvati insare ine 까말레 실레제베 kumrin parvati 지gyunre lunggyunre digdi 다다지 ngala ayuna samteng도 다 임비네 디나는 가시가시 년가 가시가시지 기라줄 슈빈다 베 고네 슈바 자사 슈마와지 년가 가시 슈비나 드그멘도 samteng도
So, His Holiness has been here recently to give, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been here recently to give teachings, and in the morning session I have also been present. Most of you here, or all of you, have also been present during these teachings that His Holiness gave. So as you have already received these teachings from a great master and probably all been, His Holiness satisfied by these teachings, I don't think there's any need to call me here in order to give these teachings, but since you've already put up the posters and requested me to come here, so therefore I will give you something of a teachings as you requested. So the topic that has been given is the middling stages of meditation by Kamalashila, Master Kamalashila. So as for the lineage of the transmission lineage and the transmission lineage of these teachings, I'm not sure that I actually possess it, but I can give you some of the main points, the more important points of this text.
Okay. 다 디나네 도마데 그래서도 그 남상계배 지당 그 남상계배 떠주고 나눠려야 다 주단 gengi rabiyesa marwada yawaru sha juda gengi namsha junjega namsha sha de takejum shivcha de yare karesana nabasangi bezo da bin jidin goba bodang da den de me be insan da zo di ane gyugen tendele dene chumba dyoge be indu sane gyugen tende namsha sha de nabasangi be nam kechum chi cha de yusar sangdu.
So, as we are speaking from the point of view of the Buddhist presentation, the presentation of cause and effect is something which is very important. The divisions and the presentation of cause and effect is very important. And since, as Buddhists, we do not accept a creator God or creator deity, therefore, speaking about the dependent origination of cause and effect is the basis, the foundation of the Buddhist teachings.
Hindustane benda koa matsun koa dang nyangde namsha shewe kolya yang junde de geshu sha shibji cha de yare bena koa sa ju khana de ne khoro yimba dana sta di dibu dungye namsha kanji yimba dana shin ben nyangel de be shedu sane en nyangel de be ene ju samarwe dal nyangele de topje ga lam ko namsha ane dana sin ji goba ji nyangele de be dibu namsha chene da ganda shu kowa da nyangele de be chue tamse de gyunde din jung ge dana man zhe jia hua chhe yo de song bu
And also, since we are speaking about the cycle of existence, or samsara, and nirvana, or liberation, this also is explained by the way of cause and effect. When we speak about samsara, or the cycle of existence, we speak about the cause, the suffering, and the causes of those sufferings, which are a cause and effect. And when we speak about nirvana, or liberation, we also speak about the cause for achieving nirvana, which is the path, and the resultant cessation, truth of cessation. So also here it is very important to speak with regarding to the dependent origination of cause and effect.
Tene 다 조조데 아주 지 심지 상으로 대화 톰도 예보다 동해 tren도 예보디 심지 상무지 그래 이내양 대화 토야 그 유다 제 가서 대화 토야 줄이야 아니 가서 그 주야다 다나시 동해 방아급이 토리아 아니 간다 지 땅아람 밀리아 투모모이 비지 남제 방랑 지 군제 방랑 상부 가리임바 소소리아 상부 가리임바 안다나지 편배 정신지 가리임바 디하고 투야지다 라는 네바당 안다나시 네베런 신지 가리임바 디하 고토야지 당아도 밀리아 뒤모모 지금 남주지 알아 드레인두산에 단 남주에 드리지 여버디 집이 빙리어마네 의 니주 토리아 에네 아주지 군제 빵랑 만으로 지체고야 돼 개좀 쉽차디 하래 다당 아주 강에 체대야 돼 군제 빵랑 제하기 남주 매배 강에 채우면 봐. 남주에 요르데 남주에 라렌 수시도 마셔지. 마셔봐. 라렌도 제단 지루 마셔봐. 머리베 인두스탄에 디 강에 채되 예버지. 숨겨라스.
So mainly all of us are the same in that we all want, desire to achieve happiness. We all desire to get rid of suffering, to discard suffering. And in order to do that, we need to know what the causes of suffering are, to achieve the causes of suffering, how to abandon the causes of, how to achieve the causes of happiness, how to abandon the causes of suffering. And in order to do this, we now have this intellectual capacity as human beings to know what is to be discarded, what is to be adopted. So we need to examine, use this intelligence in order to see what are those things that are in the nature of harming, what are those things that are in the nature of being beneficial. So we need to use our intelligence in order to examine reality to see what are the causes that we need to abandon, what are the causes or the results, the causes that we need to adopt. So the main problem is not that we do not have this intelligence, is that we do not use this intelligence properly. We do not know how to use our intelligence in a proper way in order to achieve the proper results of happiness that we seek.
네두산에 저부링 돌이야 아주 미 쇠샤베 맨 소마르베 미 쇠샤베 강에 마우스타 알았어 배는 심지에 망부지 심지에 균루 망부지 아주 다 칼라 좋아요 지부 다 대점 접지래다 조조 대점지기 체도 안에 심지어 망부 세디요 심지어 뒤로 망부 나중에 단디요 데 세바 점도 마세비 다디 주 세당 실로디소 바제 가지고 담미회야 지당기 미 하이 고요 말라 따야 표야가라 갑시다 되지 세당 실로디소 딱 간다야 소사 돈주 망부지 아니 아주 밀레데네 보다 나주 냥대야지 용디 알아. 나는 생각하고 미편수의 의미네. 당 아주지 지기질이야 편수 제심 매바다. 지기질이야 제심 매베 띵도 통도 낙심 장네. 내다지 멍주야. 나는 시 고고동야 지 제는체 어디를 니주 망부샤 편이 거. 다들 성으로 가르쳐야 했으나 다 moral ethics morals 뭐 땅 아주들이야 방랑 랑도 치야기 뉴버지 여러디 이미데디 방랑 랑도 치야고 뉴버디 아주 다더버도 장된기 체도 배주 당부 마도베 현된기 체도 배주 마당체 소설 편바시 가도 대하고서는 안 대주 줄렌체 토박 배주체 네번도 가르네 소설 네번 가르치도 대하고서는 안 되지 명야 덮시체 다 텔레 디스 가수에 improve somewhere 텔레 하바지 재미있나 안다 소설이 가보니고 소설 가선이에서 되게 대체도 네 벤더로체 아니 저 동에서야 덮시체 다 텔레 하가지 가서 삼던 게 아마네 대인주산 다가당 아주 그 다지 방랑랑도 제야디 다지 지 야데베 충다체 so narrow somewhere 야 충차바 대인주산 디균산 되네 아니 미상으로지 장된기 상황도 친제 지 점링들이야 동에 마부지 어디야디 된데 좀 있어서
So, many of the problems that we experience in the world today are man-made. The way that many sentient beings are killed and harmed is because, and the way that sentient beings are suffering in the hands of each other. Is because we do not know how to think properly. Not only that, but having lack of compassion towards each other. Not just lack of compassion, but actually having a harmful intent and a malicious intent towards each other. Provoking violence, war, rape, and many types of harming each other in many different ways. All of these different types of harm come from a basic lack of moral ethics, a basic lack of integrity and knowledge of what we should abandon and what we should adopt. And even if we do have this moral ethics, we use it only for our own purpose. We do it only for our own sake, thinking about ourselves. We do not do it for the purpose of others. And even if we improve upon that, we would do these beneficial actions to those that we like, those who surround us, who are our friends. But we would not go beyond that. So, in a sense, this is a very narrow-minded type of thinking only about ourselves. And this is the main cause for all these problems that we are experiencing.
Okay. 야, 되네. 这里啊，还是切说了，让个漏漏去啊。这里啊，也对个，我们的别的这 example 写下去 example， 这 example 的个对的写不是的，我让那的写你，我让那的你不查的写 example 的，or example， 就这样。但也对个写的，我说对个这等级加一查的难度最少的这些，大多是么加一查啊，我们加一 prison。对不起，状况对不起，提拿了里边去掉了是。第一说，他的估计什么有事嘞？做的这的我有啥子？但的我啥子要不得？当不得我钱，俺给当不得我钱，但俺给你不得我啥子吧？但我加了我 property 是啥子 ？property possession， 但我加了，俺我别干说，我给他别干啥年啥，俺我做不啥。这里三的，我的我有个大多金别呢，三百的那价钱差那些钱，但顶俺说提拿路里也别干去年，呢。outside world 什么 outside world 的 connection 得被搞出来的国家不能信息 connection 没有去说当俺这怎么领的 outside world 什么的连这把看用的国家不能信息我说俺等人准备等真的也不印象的军事的呢这把也不得我说好过要嘛呢这里啥呢但点呢变了查啥位呢别查啥位呢看啥这状况哪路也比呢这状况哪路没什么用处嘛吧코랑 기비는 뭐셔버로 야면에 초보로 다 근데 가셔야지 마도 참 연출이 오면 봐 다가나신 아주의 등진기 자기 자와티나 소수 쭉 아니 자기 자와도 고디게 근데 소수기 있다 랑다 녜사 가셔야지 디나 옆체 대매비지 좀디 지 미신다다 이제 저버리기 니 신다들 taking care somewhere 나와스게 마샵체 아들이 좋아하는 거네 인도상 다당 아주 지 다도 나도 이런 점 다도 집에서한테 삼동다로 드니지스래 드니지be 인상 에는 아주 지 점불링기 시대사다 점불링기 에네 점불링비 지 심지어 삼 디기 요한사디 얘는 삼도 동신도 말라 저 삼당시비네 뒤지 초면으로 지다 뒤 소수단 잡으면 없지 이제 심지어 탐당 안 잡아 가려서 이제 잡아거나 이제 미지 아주지 미게 통과로 지다 야나 라고에 투과로 지 삼던 거로 나도 주사 내 체제다 다도 준비 정간나로 주리면도 성도 마신 게 많다
So if I give you an example, an old example, so as it is said, sentient beings are trapped in the iron cage of self-grasping. So what is this iron cage of self-grasping? It is the grasping onto I and mine. So first comes the I. First we are attached to the I. And next, we become attached to mine or my possessions and my friends, my beloved ones, and so on. So, being trapped inside this iron cage, we we kind of find ourselves in a situation where we are completely disconnected with the outside world. We close the outside world from us, and we do not know how to connect to the people around us. We are kind of trapped inside this self-grasping cage. For example, if a person was inside a prison, he would only be able to make a connection to a certain few amount of people, the people who are around him, and maybe a few friends and the prisoners around him and so on. In the same way, as we are trapped inside this iron cage of self-grasping, we do not know how, except for only a few people that we can connect to, we do not know how to connect to any other, to other people. So only towards me and mine, that is all we know how to connect to. We think that there's no point in making a relation or a connection to all sentient beings, or this is nothing to do with me, why should I connect to other sentient beings or other sentient beings? We think that only those that we can touch or feel close to us, those are the ones we need to connect, but all the rest are completely unrelated to us, and there's no need to connect to them.
mission samar ngaso lengen samar ba de karcha de yor sana ja ge chawa ba tor ko zongkan de daro che ko pero miji na zongkan de go chona de so sad samar ba lo pam ba dongwen chen ba je zang ga ji da zi ba sa zongkan ji bi nge ngo chhe ba che da ngo chhe so na ane 신에 다 아디 미지제난 다다 지 비정가 디나 대투서 말해 네버 데레 타와 제 오도 섬서로 지기 셈리아 소나 타고 지기로 봐 근데 소나 아니 아주 지 등진 차와 데레 털터 매주시고 봐 드린주 산에 유네양 아주 데디 등진 자외나 취여거든 아주 하고 요만해 다티 종간의 의미의 종가서 학과의 종간도 지 그렇죠 아주 치료 종간의 프레젠트랑 아주 상에 하고 그러 봐. 디 틸리안 드랑 아주 상에 틸드랄 가버치 말 봐. 오늘 치료 종간은 이는 난게 종간배 현안 사실대 아주 배 기부지 대대요 봐. 하고 오면 봐. 렌주산에 다 정강원에 대해 뭐였어 이제 텔레 털터기 가르쳐요. 다 배주에 다다네. You need to start from now. somewhere with that is what say.
So this is it's our responsibility to eliminate, to destroy this iron cage of self-grasping, this prison that we are in. It's our responsibility to be free, to get rid of it, to be free from it, to get away from it. So first we need to recognize, to understand what this iron cage is, what this grasping onto I and mine, how we are trapped within it, and then after recognizing this, after understanding this, then we should make the effort in order to be free from it. But at the moment we are in a situation in which we do not know, we do not understand how we are trapped within this cage of grasping onto I and grasping onto mine. When we speak about external prison, then everybody knows, we all understand how you are trapped in it, how it stops you from being free, how it limits your freedom. But when we speak about the inner prison, the prison of grasping onto I and mine, then we all happily remain in that prison. We are not even making the effort to be free from it. So therefore, it's our responsibility from this moment, right from now, to make the effort to be free from this prison.
Then 다 중간에 타와 쳬베 텁딜이야 아주 되게 다 조디 텁데 시럽니 아니 시럽데 조다 딘종기 딘종도베 시럽르지 고르바 나는 시 텁데 아니 참바데 닌지라 써봐 다 네 텁데 시럽닌 좀바이나 어디라 타바 쳬투야치 시요레스
So, what is the method of liberating ourselves from this prison? It is the two, the method and the wisdom. So the wisdom is the understanding of dependent origination, and the method is the love and compassion. So these are the tools that will lead us to freedom from this prison.
린주산에 고물린 바벤 고리아 고탕번에마 체메시 냠련 고송요레스 아주 되게 체메시 냠련 체인주산에 벤 당보 닌지 체메를 곰주산에 닌지 체메 곰사티 당보 랑게 자외 마스두산에 첸디 마로고 마네 체체네 고조제 공부요레스
So, therefore, in the middling stages of meditation, in the beginning of the middling stage of meditation, the text speaks about the four immeasurables. So, for example, with regarding to the immeasurable compassion, the text begins with those who are close to you within this lifetime. For example, your mother, and so on.
벤다 랑게 자외 마데 당보 다 윤제시도 산 벤나 다와 굴로 코베나나 냐르와당 ngaldo 냐르와당 다네야 에너지 치바 깨베 차나 깨베 동에 간다 마틀라 말라 깨베 동에 체도 써바당 마다 깨베 동에는 수신체 다나시 에너지 깨네 양就소경钱呢大等这个搞出来소경钱소경钱这全部查测的等东西是说是不的了搞出 taking 搞出be simply taking care 什么的大等这什么去什么这当be搞出来这第一切都可对呢什么当的了这就啥呢大体아주 자외 마사 따뜻이 아주 지당 아마사 뜻이 자심부 임베지당 진심부 임베지 아주 계시요 봐 따이는다 따디 아마 성은 이미 가서 하셔야 아마로 메간게 되어야다 전에 다들 왕부시 시과스 개민도 다 간다야 따디 아주 춘시지래 제자랑게 자외 마데 거진 전부 임방 아주 하고 예번 아시 아주 심지어 탐지라 되는시 거진 전부 임베 삼로 동아 특시지 알아서
So, our mother in this lifetime, if we think about how she took care of us, even from the beginning, when she kept us in her womb for 9 months, and then when we were born, the suffering that she had to endure, and that she had to endure and practice patience towards. And after we were born, the way she took care of us when we were just a small baby, and then when we grew up, the way she took care of us, the way she worried about us, the way she thought about us all the time, constantly. So this kindness, this kindness is something that we need to remember. So there are, of course, people who, even though they were shown this kindness, that they did not know how to, that they even shot their mothers, or killed their mothers. And
No.
sorry,
No, but some people think their mother is not so kind
oh, sorry.
to them.
I'm sorry.
Maybe short then. Sometimes, you know.
Oops. So, but this is just an example, just an illustration. Just as our mother was, that we're remembering the kindness of our mother in this lifetime, we should think about all sentient beings. We should think that all sentient beings have shown the same kindness.
Their way to think.
The way to think, the method
All
to think.
sentient beings also, it's
Very kind.
very kind to us.
So there is also a way to think that all sentient beings have been very kind to us in the same way.
Benang azu da 가르쳐 지신이죠. benang azu lula 거 전부 지역체 lula 다 거 전부 다거 전부 사이드 별 기진 있으러 봐지. 별 넘시 장고 열어 봐. 돌로 전부도 개집 쉽자디 열어 봐. 다이는 야가 돌로 전부 가보자 있습니다. this 돌로 서서도 저 가보 있어. 근데 다 warm clothes 있으나 배바서 뒤 암절 거인 뒤산 고스 가버리죠. 제가 들랍샤. 돌로 전부다 아니 칼라 잡아서 그러다. 안 돼. 별 기진입니다. 아직 칼라 별라 차드 저배 차보 통로마다 랍사 참 자루고. 아 간다 전에 다 돌로 전부다 아니 칼라 잡은 되게 상으로 바 홉디 대비나 안지 아주지 소수 패밀리 나로네 쇠샤도지 여러분다 치료 밀은 잡아자는 매버도지 여러분 홉디 대비나 the food 되고 소수 감변하는 수 and there are no connections 가서 미신다 no connection 매버도지 치료합니다. 이내 우연히 수도를 제비는 클라스와 제 디즈니네 실로 총대로 봐. 안데 벤지 제 단계의 신부. 안데 디즈 강에 망고 싶게 말해. 안 다나시 벤다 양한테 제대 디선지 소제나 바치나. 아 소다 디즈 패킹 차르지 강에 시다 유기로 보다. 안 패킹 차르지 람산 안 트랜스포 선문데 디 잘라파스게 아데 당가도 갈래 지금 딱 한다. 규림성 말이다. step. thousands of step. 규는 신의 소수 감변함 레벨. 아니 레네 아니 소수 클래스 차버려서 충분히. 되는지사네. 오늘 진짜 다들 트랜스포머 진행한다. 아니 신바대도 당가서 짠 통유요 말에 하고요 말에 무엇인게요 말에 이미래야. 고좀해나 아주 디 클라스사 도움도 와. 이 주산 디균세 때네. 에너지 클라스 신부. 지역이네 들량 가수의 백그라운드 삼다 마무시다도 와. 이 주산 디균세 때네. 아주 지 심지어 탐지 지기질이 안 잡아야 돼 봐. 예. 다 삼다
So, for example, if we think about warm clothing, so this is an example that we Tibetans like to use. Warm clothing and maybe food, because in Tibet the weather is very cold. So we Tibetans, just the thought about warm clothing is something that makes us very happy. Rather, in someone who lives in India, or for Indians, this may not give you this happy feeling immediately when you think about warm clothing, because that climate is quite warm. But for us Tibetans, thinking about warm clothing and thinking about hot food, or for example hot tea, you have to drink the tea while it's immediately after it's poured. Otherwise, it becomes cold very quickly. So for us, this gives us a very special kind of feeling when we think about these things, a warm kind of feeling. So if for example, we think about these things, food and clothing and so on, and while making the food, you might get the feeling that there's a kind of there is no connection between you and the people who brought these food to your doorstep, the people who made these clothings and so on, or the people who made these food. So you might think about the farmer who grew the crops in order for the food to come to you. You might think about the company the people who worked in the company who packed the food into packages, and then the people who transported it from the company to the shops and to your home. And all these gradual steps that had to take place, many people were involved in all these gradual steps in order for for the food to arrive at your home, in order for you to be able to cook it and make it. So we might not think about these things, we might not be aware of them. We might not be aware of all these people, of all the people who were involved in the creation of this food. But if we do think about it from their point of view, then a sense of how of their kindness might arise in our minds.
나 그린 첨부성마데 안지전 참바든 인진 잡아 용디 간다. 딘중 그 남샤 샤비나 인지 민지 그린 첨부 이메지 삼당과 바지요만 당연히야. 장단 점부링긴 잡아 컨데메디 하고 봐. 지글지 되는 좀 이봐. 도나증 아주 우기 유아 옥시전 디즈에베 장내 총어메베 에너지 뭐버 현래 되는 총이봐. 와. 이 뉴스안에 아니 이 군산 때는고 딘중 뚜주기 에는 잡아대 하고 있나 아니 년대 하고 가대 개침으로도 와안 가시 삼리 나로래 지 가서 지 거딘 신부인 삼단데 대하고 가시 양 미가시 지 거딘 신부 인반나시 에네 가서 두부 단계 차려 알았다 지 섬지지 질리야베 가서다 주인의 에네베 아소레 베라지 베베나 가서 김사나로리아 강에 망보용한데 베나지 서규메바 다나시 에네 레가 메바 인제 강에 수인에 지소나 지질 때는 총이베 데인두사나 그냥 네거티브 톤에 다샤 준 거로 봐. 다이미는 얘는 네거티브도 포지티브도 끼지 야만다. 얘네야 아니 띵중기 끼시 연주사는 아순 전부링디 편수 지질이야 뛰어내 총이미지. 对呢，还是错的为不起。第二个国的开出去差的样的是，第二个接了，那现在就搞出来的 positive 上大角度的 negative 上大角度，那什么大吧？第二嘛呢，那 positive negative 大啥的用嘛的。
So, the development of loving kindness is is dependent on this understanding of dependent arising. You don't necessarily have to think about kindness. What is important to understand is that we all depend on each other. We are all interconnected. For example, if we think about the oxygen, we think that we can see that we are all using exactly the same oxygen. We are all breathing the same oxygen. In that sense, we are all connected to each other. So some people might have difficulty with this thought about how other people are kind to them, because even though people might be close to each other, they still might inflict suffering on each other. So there is also the negative sides of being close, of people being interconnected. Some people might have you might find people who are have no work and people who are going hungry, and so forth. But so we shouldn't think about these negative and positive sides. What we should first understand is our interdependent nature, the way that we depend on each other, that we are interconnected. This is very important to initially understand. After we understand this, then we can start thinking about the positive sides and the negative sides of our living together.
Tene nusane ta 가르쳐도 버지 변화가 최 챙겨진 의미네요. 최 냠는 챙겨진 의미네. 다들 가서 interdependent 스마를 다 편주 찍된 게 배 잡아도 야부시한 거에 계속 이제 샤베나 디선 점ling 돌이야. 아니 가서 다들 마신저 다들 마신저 이유셔다. 쟤네 다 된대겠다. 찍된 잡아도 하고에 제려야 안 당기 시원한 시. 고양 저 거진 심부임데 삼당투네 야부르셔래. 다 거진 심부임데 삼당투 다 거진 심부임데 삼당아데 찍내가 저래라 대머임바 지당아도 점ling 심전 상로 소수 변화다 디기 대화 통제여 동해 전도여 능신 아니 심전 신다이네 대능신 임버지 대화 통제여 동해 전도여 임버지 아주 가르쳐 삼당과야디 empathy 서머버다지 근데 삼당과데 개좀 쉽차리요네 디 균선 때네 아주 셴편사디 근데 내가 좀 셰 과가 균선 가라서나 아니 셴편 그 삼바베 참바도 니지도 좋다 셴라 펜버드야래 참바도 니지면 그아메비치 참바도 니지스도잖아 니지스도잖아 셴 동해의 대화를 봐 아니 참바스도 셴 대화다 땜버 봐 되니 주산에 셴편 두야라 아니 동해 바 매버서야지당 아니 대화 가서 두야지마도 다 셴편 자스게요 말봐 되니 주산에 디균선 때네 다 진짜 디도 랑도르 자냥이야 냥을 버르보 심젠디 디도 그 소화에 버지 미진 아주 삼당고도 변에 돈으로 버지 셰비 있는다 망쳐지기 디도 그 소화 매버지 가서 버지 디도 그 소화 이 매버지 삼당디 매러서서지 자 니마치라 변 나로 지비나 나 충충 그 뒤산은 샤서거래 되네 아니 가르셔 로 같이 심다 롱어도 심으로 롱어도 징에나 샤방거래 이 샤방거에 무슨 가르서나 아니 당에디 가르서 다큐멘터리 심젠데서 세베 다큐멘터리 통브레 디 통브테 된지 아니 마르방베 기체래 딱 쇠라메 인자 디 동해도 쇠라메 다 이민에 아주 쇠라메부터 그 뒤용 그래 다디 깔아 갑시로 시디 가서 가서래 시디 가서 어 말만 디 말만 Pacific 차장 마버차 이 히말라야 차장 아니 베 Pacific 차장 베 차가 마버차 엔다나지 히말라야 차장 아니 베 차가 마버차차 봐도 아니 아주 지 쇠라메버디 셈디 기가 말을 깔아 가버다 kadu gigarita dana singomane lo nye ana chi tuntu migi era chi shene danga nagdo tsagdo sa malabana ani baji danga su ji nasa nagdo tsagdo sa pas ti sam ta tu me beso chi malabna atni dusane kantre chambaden inji saadi 아주 voluntarily somewhere 당랑 것도네 이 미신다 디도를 파 당랑 것도네 삼다디 다 개주시 차대요 다다지 호랑 외에 수 너건도 저건도 라네 말라네 아주 당랑 것도네 voluntarily somewhere 다 데도네 지디도 삼로 심구르차디 참바든 이제 공부해 주면 됩니다. 가라서는 빼랑 아 저디 social experience 나라 나서 던두산에 나서 매번 되어도 디기윤 디기에만 되어도 나도 늘으시샤 예 망타도는 망타도도 수lo 나도 지금 나라니 용서만 따다 드림.
So, as Dharma practitioners as well, it's very important to think about dependent origination. As spiritual practitioners, it's important to think about the way that we depend on each other, the way that we are interconnected. And after we have this understanding of this interconnectedness, interdependent nature, then we should think about the kindness, the way that others are kind to us. This is a very important point. So, for example, just as each one of us has this desire to be happy, we all want to be free of suffering. We all want to be happy. Everybody else also has this exact same feeling, and this thought brings a sense of empathy towards others, a sense. And this is this thought of wanting to benefit others, the thought of desiring to benefit others, is something which is rooted in a sense of love and compassion, a sense of empathy towards others. So, what is the desire to benefit others? What is the way to benefit others? Is to give them that happiness that they desire, the desire to give, to free them from that suffering that they do not want. That is the real benefit that we can give others. This is very much dependent. This giving of happiness to others and freeing them from suffering is very much dependent on our understanding that they have feelings of suffering and pain, that they experience suffering and pain. For example, if we speak about animals, many of us, it seems that we do not have a kind of sense that animals have feelings, that they experience happiness and that they experience suffering. As for myself, from a very young age, I was a meat eater. Now, for the past 5 or 6 years, I stopped eating meat. And I stopped eating meat because of watching these documentaries about how the animals suffer and what happens to them when they are slaughtered and so on. So, how much would it take for us to actually develop this kind of inability to bear the suffering of others? What would it take for us to generate this kind of feeling for others' suffering? Do we have to see the whole Pacific Ocean completely become red in order for us to feel that the suffering is actually there? What would it take for us to actually get this feeling? So the animals, they do not have the ability to do Himalaya.
Himalaya Mountain, Washington, do
So the animals, they don't have the ability to tell us what they are feeling. They cannot express the suffering that cannot express the suffering that they are feeling. From our side, we have to develop this sense of love and compassion.
Do we have to wait until they talk to us in human language and tell us we are in agony, we're in pain, and don't harm us like this? Do we have to wait, or should we be able to think by ourselves and voluntarily act on our moral compunctions?
So that was the rest of what I was going to say.
No, one thing.
Even though they do not speak to us, we should take the responsibility and voluntarily work to benefit them.
The volunteer good go marvata chigi azuji be kashwe tungye chambu big desire ben design de yongdwa ben some earthquake big desire chedu sa and shine disaster chundu sa ne and misangmo showing compassion then be shinde cap donation dang azu inji big disaster ji good go arbeta kala khabru di 야면은 점불이 미탐세 점불이 자산을 earthquake 마제는 점불이 기밀이야 같이 the compassion 제초요 말베 다디 점지잖아 2012 라이기 전에 아주 참받은 인사디 근데 소셜이야 강에 체베 가라 voluntarily 그러강에 체네 마체네 그러 장기 낭기 고 대외 초라 교대야지다 동행의 유대야지 랑기 낭기 용거 automatic 다가는 신 아주 심진 신의 의미냐 아니 고 랑기 낭기 용거야지다 voluntarily 소바르면 다디 딜이야지 게 단계로 지듯이 가서도 잡아친게 유연하면다 아주 대삼당과 개점 임자
So, we don't actually have to wait. We don't have to wait for a big disaster to happen in order to develop compassion towards others. We don't have to wait for the disaster to happen and then to start to give donations and
showing compassion.
In order to show compassion towards others. We don't have to wait for this to happen. We don't have to wait for 2012 for the world to be destroyed. For this, we can show compassion to the whole world. We do not need to wait for someone to experience suffering in order for that to happen. So this desire for someone to be happy and the desire for someone to not experience suffering, this is something that happens naturally in each and every one of us. No. And we should develop it in a natural way. Should develop it in a natural way towards others. How to say, in a kind of instinctive way.
Tamas the break the yore maredi. The your bedi. Patadu. Do you have break or something? No? I don't know. No break? No break. No. Mindu. Okay. Don't stop. Huh? Azu samana di draw da. Yeah. Da de ni sa ne, dai ne. En di je le ya ne. 가와다 땅념 사 중고로 보다 가와다 땅념 사디 더 조조디 아주 지 심지에는 현대 제베이네야 고 현대 배 양다버지의 현대 타kö의 제어로 봐 타kö의 섬으로 이 제어 이제 사는 다 제벌이야 가와다 땅념 사디 계심으로 동아 배는다 디 유고 인생 가라서는 배는 아주야 배나 시안의 펜버 두버치 봐 시안의 펜버 두버치 배나 다 담보 시안의 펜버 두다 이내고 나게제 쇼로 봐다 심비 두네 간자함 소도 산에 네 가르쳐다지 내가 상부 내가 야부 사보도 내가 야부 망보 체인도 사는 나게게 알려라고 여러 당에지 미망부 변도 제베서 손치 당나게 첨불래 인도산에 나게 사들래 인도산에 네 가르쳐요 시안의 계수의 책으로 봐 시안의 계수 다 시안의 계수의 제비는 그 심변 타협의 제도가 많아 봐 드레인도산에 땅 나게 그냥부터 붙질이야 바지 가와 공부 있어요 미 컨디션 임비네야 로르스 미 컨디션 임비네야 그 대화 통나 소소 가고 연구 아래 나게 유에딩이 미질래 just 미신다래 주변에 소수의 바지 주변에 소수 단다 붙질이야 배 소수 망가지 기부적으로 그거 말아 봐 미망부질이야 기부적으로 그거 말아 봐 답변 괜찮을 용도도 와 드린주산에 디균센데네 가와데 계심을 해서 나나시 아주 차도 연구로 봐 차도 미카시 기부적으로 가봐도 근데 수수 년에서 야부처럼 가봐도 아니 수수 다도 야부처럼 가보면도 선서로 연구로 봐 근데 뒤년벌에 땅용 공부야 지 드린주사 지당 것도 체매시 마시에 용주사는 체매시 엔 시에 용주사는 참바 이제 가와 땅용 시에가레스 이내 곰 용주사는 당부 땅용에 망고 조제 고매지 송도가 때 가르사나 다 단위 지메바 당기 쉬변하시 수수 다이네다 수수 녀이네다 상로 디두고 소화에 지고 용주사네 엔 디토는 아주 땅용 쳐 소수 다이미 균생기 엔 디두고 처음에 선 두시치고 두시셔bio 말았어. 이런 주사네. 다들 계속 주시도 와. 탑케베. 위시바.
대 신던체나 네 탑 키워버시스.
마마를 타켜가 석시 complete 말을 나가 참아다 don't ask me English
the next two immeasurables are the immeasurable happiness and immeasurable equanimity. So even in order to be successful in our work to benefit others, these thoughts are very important. For example, if someone is a very proud person, and this might come very easily if you are kind of working to benefit others, and you start to kind of feel proud of your own activities, and once you develop this pride, a thought of scorning, looking down on other people might develop within you. So in order to develop an antidote towards this pride, the immeasurable happiness, the feeling of happiness, of enjoying the happiness that others, of wanting others, enjoying the happiness that others experience. If you are very proud, you might not you might dislike other people being happy or successful.
So happy, maybe. Then edit
You might not be so happy. So, you might not be so happy if others are enjoying happiness or being successful. If you are, and for example, with regarding to jealousy, if you develop jealousy, then you might be happy if your friends are experiencing happiness, but you would not like this happiness to be experienced by your enemies. So these are things that can be counteracted by the four immeasurables. And especially when we meditate on the four immeasurables, the first thing we should meditate on is the immeasurable equanimity. So these thoughts of he is my friend and he is my enemy, and discriminating between friends and enemies, this is something that we should discard. And this is done by the first meditation of on immeasurable equanimity. The first is when you meditate, then the first thing you should meditate on is the immeasurable equanimity.
Equanimity is dusane jade nyen ba samatan nyen de dai ba samatan de kisi matayande tati kala khabshurwa susu jade nyen ba samtons la no lamsa kala khabrwa ina di inji miji da susu jade nyen ba na shi ji be ji samta nye bor samtang kwa samtang thune ya bore mothune nye de kond shube or jai nere nyen nere 수술이야 지 가서에 잡아 야부여 마요 캐봐요 알아야지 이내 호술 니도 그 좋아요 지 걸어 아 자에 두부 주나 고 동해 연구래 동해 소화 연구래 녀다 다나신 가부 주나 고 디기 연구래 니 주산데 지 걸어 디기 도안에는 아주 당념지 그래서 얼마나 양 가셨습니다 당념지 수도산에 자데 람사베 소소 초보인바 초보 수행사를 람사는 고도와 잘 초보 수행사 다들 람사 가하고샤바 다 초보 소모도네 지당 꾸라데 셈젠지 바당 디도 소아예 왜 셈젠지 바 되는 주서 그 디도 소아들은 아주 리스펙트 하고요 어디 자고네 드면서
So when we speak about equanimity, we're not saying that you should think that your enemies are your friends and that your friends are your enemies. This is not. This is something which would be very difficult. This is not something that I'm saying that you should do. How do you say it? Even though that we understand that there are differences between the friends and enemies. The fact that all of them desire for happiness and all of them wish to be free from suffering, this is something which is common to everybody in exactly the same way. So in this sense, thinking that all of them want to be happy, all of them want to be free of suffering in exactly the same way, in this way we should develop equanimity. We're not saying that you should develop, you should make everybody your friend. This would be very difficult.
No. I don't know how to add it. Actually, it's not like that. It's okay. I think. So tune abores. The enemy, the trouble side, this color how you endorse.
So it's difficult to make your enemies your friends. If you can, that's good. But what is important is to think of everybody as just being sentient beings. Just the fact that they have feelings, that they desire for happiness, and they do not want suffering. This is something that we should respect. So in this sense, we should develop equanimity.
다치 제나가 상원로래 자사 미세지 유기 말아봐다 에너미사베 에너미 소마르다지 오늘 에너미 예베 소화를 주에나 저 상원로 유기 말아봐다 나라 참자 에너미 예베 소나를 시라 용문도 다이네 에너미스 참자 에너미세 오늘 전에 가르쳐요 뭐마지면은 주마드는 방법이었는데 에너미 주마라고 배나 참사지 소소리야 소소년이네야 소소 정보들이네 소소지 소소데지 가서 마가를 제종나 소소 셈라 만들어 제종나 셈라 만들어 제 남사지 가서 마가요 온데 알아다 엔다나시 가서 남사 지 콘도사로 되네요도 다 디컬이야 덴덴지 아주지 삼당과의 개츠미부터 가서 장바든지 삼로사데 뒤근지 라가나로리아 슈랭룸 디나로데네 장바든지 검데브디 다 펜더 연로데 다 이미 디지 데르 차로도 와 가서 디기 데 냠네 세다노 디지 냠네 세다노 디 레스트다 버치 다티 산로시 최체스 레스트 제베다 버치 다 깔아시다 가서 데네 지 최지 제나사 버치 rest therapy somewhere church therapy no massage to kala khasa jesa church cheja masa church therapy massage dine marubada tiko church nyamne chi jongdar chen exclusive somewhere ta bre mamina chi exclusive kasa di be jongdar be chakbo de la extensive 가서다 종달 트레이닝 자오고 뭐미 중간에 증번은 시제고 트레이닝 자오고 다나서 아주 그럼 미지나로야 extensive 그런 가서 exercise 자오로 마도 이비 슈랑 룸 나는 샤샤나 펜동원 데네 주산에 예바르도 베네 소소이 베나 소소 뒤게 베 패밀리는 대바야고 매비나 connection 야부 매빈 되게 야부 싹 탑시지 패밀리를 잠니지디서 겁나 야부 알아 삼사 여러분 아직 삼사 패밀리 잠니지 겁나 제 미상으로 잠니지 겁 패밀리 잠니지 겁나 제로 도와다 이 괜찮을 수도 돼야 타니는 가르이 내면이지 상으로야 다 대화 대도 동화 체대에 비들려 그 뒤에 90제고 하다 계속 respect 안다는 아주 양 참사 미세 자다 녀미나야 파르마톨레 네베 심제 망보 줘봐 아주 지금 잡아시다면 되죠 되게들 미세 아주 아주 공부해야 돼 계속 버리자 딱 간다량 당에 망보 샤시면서 계속 가시죠 고생했어 당에 지슈 아들이 아주 오케이
So, I think that most of us don't have enemies. I don't really think that that any of us really have this kind of feeling. Oh, this is my enemy. As for myself, I don't really have this feeling. Oh, this person is my enemy, and so on. But we do have something that we could call maybe a false or fake enemy. Someone that harms us at a certain moment, and at that time we kind of feel a dislike towards that person. We might develop a kind of a sense of anger towards that person. So at that time, when we have this feeling, at that time it's very important to practice love and compassion. This is a very important point. Just leaving the Dharma practice to the shrine room, or to those times where we are kind of feeling that we need a rest and we need some kind of Dharma therapy, and we
Dharma
take
massage.
a massage, a Dharma massage. That at those times we feel that, oh, maybe we should, do some Dharma practices at the times when we are tired. This this is not the real Dharma practice. What the real Dharma practice is an extensive training program, just like the military, the soldiers do. So not to just leave the Dharma practice to the shrine room or to the meditation room, but to make it extensive throughout your life. For example, it's very important to develop love and compassion towards your family. There's some people who might not have a very close connection to their family members, and then they might meditate on love and compassion towards everybody, but they might forget their family members while they're doing this. So for these kind of people, it would be very important to focus on their family members and develop love and compassion towards their family members. It's very important to focus on everybody while you are meditating on love and compassion, to develop respect towards everybody, just as we said, everybody wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. So also there are those who are neutral towards us. So for those people as well, those neutral people who we feel indifferent towards, for those as well we should develop. Very important to meditate on love and compassion towards them.
다 간다야. 가르쳐서 참선 아주 가셔야지. 예. 미슬이야. 니부야. 비슷다 뭔가 참여지. life meaningful life somewhere. 미슬 니부야 그렇지. 아주 되고. 또 미슬 니부야 비슷하대야. 가셔야지. 세두사 간대지서래. 가시 3년 나눠리야. energy 가셔야. 베나 interest you have 이미나. and hope somewhere 좋아해 버리지. interest maybe나 and 좋아해 버리지. meaning may버리지. 다 이제 가셔야. 다 이내 interest you 매사 되다. the meaning you 매 야만을 좋아해 매사. 이주 가르치 면서. 근데 삼삼 가셔야. the interest that 삼삼 지지는 루브르에 이제 가셔 초아를 쉐도와. 내가 저 가르쳐 드릴지 가버지. 앞선 가버차. 양한테네 양 가버치 매차. 그때 주사 루브에 전화로 제샤. 드레주산에 인지미지 가수에 지금 자와예버지 다나신 에너지 meaning 예버지네 인지미지 델리아베 interest 비들리 시부지 가수에다베 지 납산지 소수 가오용아지 소머다 납산 소수지 인구토야르지 얘네면에 아주지 빼나다 참바든지 냠nen도 상로 람산지 가수에 interest lene malene ta kanda misile nimbu yaba chegwana be part of others somarwe shengi chashe chebina 하니까 가르쳐야지 misile nimbu yaba 그렇지 benanga 주지 be part of Buddha and Bodhisattvas, be part of sentient beings 봐 렌주산에 소수 다티 가르쳐 버렸잖아 베나 베나 뒤경 아주지 베나 라마 쪽에서 가르삼던 것은 아주지 다 part of Buddha and Bodhisattva yes 다들 인도산에 상계의 전선배 가르쳐 activities 가르쳐 지팅 뱅에 무슨 인스튜션에 이제 고 가르쳐 소시에게 life 때 지단디 라마 쪽에서 갈라다 가고 이기로 life is difficult even 봐 다지 가르쳐 meaning you have 아주 전다예버를 통과하래. 다나신 심진 be part of sentient beings 시두산 다나신 에너지 심진 배 가수다 타예버 장기 미셔버 디기데 차시지 전에 엔 대수다 냠도 가수에 대수지 대화 주야 동예사야 지 가르쳐에 자와주가 샤시에로 차비나 ene shine ji meaning yabruchi tere dusa ti gyuze dene nga chu meaning yue me sa de sam ting samon tangwa ke shibre ma do ka she meaning yue me sa lamsan ji exciting do chi yana ji interest yana ji ti lamsan ji karjo be chiri nga mo seba na shi korba khala nga mo seba na shi lamsan ji thoar ji lamsan ji karjo de ji nyongwa samro stang do da kala khapshra de 아주 지 something someone 담비나 신의 학과에 지었어. 다버지 얘들아 섬샤에는 주와로 지나 주와 숨자래나. 아마 타는 게 랭자도마다.
So, we all want to lead a meaningful life, but how do we do this? How do we lead a meaningful life? So, it seems that at those moments when we have an interest in Dharma practice, and
maybe.
anything. And so at that moment, then we make effort, we may develop a hope to kind of be able to, that our life might become meaningful.
And I have some meaningful, maybe, I don't know.
So this interest and hope, these things seem to be very interconnected. If we have the interest, then the hope, the hope develops within us. If we do not have the interest, then we do not have the hope. So, but this interest is something that appears to be kind of something that arises kind of spontaneously. It's kind of unpredictable kind of feeling. So, what we should do is to be we should not be dependent on this feeling of interest because it's so unpredictable. So whether it is there and whether it is not there, we should be continuous in our effort, in our preservation. So this the part of
and if we have interest, then there seems to be hope, and that with the hope may be a result that is meaningful. That is not necessarily so. So when we have interest in something, it seems more of a trend that we go along with. Regardless whether we have interest in something or not, to realize that to make the life meaningful is a lifelong activity, and just like that of the so to be able to make everything a part of one's life and be a part of, as His Holiness was saying, be part of people, be part of the activity, and in this regard, I also think that the lives of lamas, tulkus, also not that easy, because their life is to be a part of the activities of the Buddhas, activity of the Buddhist bodhisattvas, and to extend that, and especially when we think about innumerable number of sentient beings, and then to be a part of the innumerable number of sentient beings. So when we talk about living a meaningful life, we can't just have a very sort of casual or the superficial approach to it. It is definitely something very profound that we need to consider or probe into. It's certainly not just a matter of something interesting or something for the moment exciting. and it's not to be thought of as some surface situation like the taste of the sweetness of candy or that of a sweet dish. So it's not scratching the surface, or it's not something superficial. It's has to be more than that, and so therefore when we're approaching the making life meaningful, and some more profound thoughts need to go into it.
It's okay. Huh?
So we could stop here. Maybe have 3 questions. I don't think I can answer more than that at the moment.
Questions? Questions? How to choose? I can't choose them.
Holiness, thank you very much. To start with, you have spoken of leading a meaningful life, and of interdependence, which of course are completely interconnected themselves. Now, I was reflecting that at the level of physical environment, there is now a great awareness of the interdependence, so that if I pollute the environment, I have a responsibility over the poisoning of where everybody else lives. However, it seems to me that we, at the level of human community, we also share in our existence at the emotional and mental level. And that if we abide in, say, negative emotions, hatred, and so on, are we not poisoning this interdependence at the emotional and mental level? The reason why I'm saying this is because it seems that modern understanding of psychology is that an individual is like a private being. You know, there is a big issue of privacy around us. And that it's my business if I am unhappy, depressed, unwell, or somewhat. It's not seen as, in the web of life, the negative emotion of one person poison the collective level of existence. I wanted to ask your opinion about this, and whether we should not also start thinking in these terms, if it is correct. Thank you, Holy.
And te inzun te ngongo ke samlo inayang toa te stel ten cher zhuyos. Inayang nangi teni sem ki nyomongi toba teni ini sem ki nam to tamita nyomong tamita chidang shidang ki toba la soba teni tili teni yang teni chingoba tsam himba ini nangi sem de peche ta tenjung tsama chö tamji tenjung hindu te tenjung yin kukris. Inayang teni 직전이 이제 파체 봐. 대마도 등산양 지 대난기 디시라 지금 해보나 신 되는 지소 지강에나 소수계르기 먼저 다 등산양 계르기티 게 침부지게 걸었어 봐. 근데 저도 되는 계르기 맞지야. 바샤치 봐. 아니 책이 대한 직직이 맞지부터 되는 되는 책이 들이야 도선 제거나 신 난기 생규는 직직 파처 되는 다 노셈다 된데기 진다 간다 pollution the chig pollution the bazo shona sing and nangi the yo and nyanga chig ba chig deni de ba tende kwa poverty tende digena isna konjo kan de nasimita tende tina tustelia ya nyambo ngo
Yes, I'm dara in Mendoza. Brother, 신앙게 가서 치기 가서 당고 배나 방 배나 구요리야 블루 그래서 블루시 배 구요를 봐줘다디 저디 치기 에네 가서지 쥐발라에 라레게라 또 낭섬 거지 섬기 계속 the responsibilities of 말보다 지금 이렇게 매버지 인상 들이 온디 여러 다바도 변지 김상 가시야래야 미상말 공로 잡이 인디나 안 김상들 디기 매봐 그봐 미상말 지당 그 차견야 보여지 치 차견도 야보여 이민다 프랑스 낭섬이야 아니지 배지 남규 지 가셔야 잡아도 야고시다 매버체 공로 잡으러 제비김 디균세 되네 않고 가셔야 김상 고랑 디기 매베 손아로 영어도 와 디니 주사는 나무상게 베시아디 지당 그 키기 니즈디 수임비나 야 자와 투용서디 안 낭섬 가르레지 에 심규 마디오아들 때네 텔레아 투용게 베서시 이제 공수해야 될 때 버르시다 다디 녀보대야 다 심규 뒤집시야들 봐 심규 뒤니지 너무 빨리 녀보대 위치하를 말아서 안 가셔서 게임도 하다
Yes, yes, that is true, because even though it appears that physically we find ourselves in indulging in a number of activities that cause a lot of physical widespread pollution, but this outer expression of pollution comes from the sources that of the mind, depending on where our mind is at and acting it out. For instance, in in some family, there is a lot of anger in the family, and there is, as a result of it, there is a lot of conflict, and as a result of that, there is a lot of unhappiness that is taking place in a family, and looking at the outer sort of comforts of life and everything, that everything seems to be relatively intact, yet because of the inner the mental anger that goes around, and so in permeating sort of within the whole family, even whatever the external favorable circumstance is not appreciated, cannot be enjoyed. So yes, at the root of this is the mind, and so the key antidote or the approach should be, in terms of antidote, is to work towards thorough taming of the mind to counteract or to become the antidote for such.
One more. I don't know. No. I'm not good for this one.
Your Holiness, I was very intrigued by the advice you gave that treat your enemy with compassion and kindness. And I'd like to ask your view. I did do that reasonably successfully, but not totally successfully. I was a young doctor, and it was the enemy.
Yeah.
He was shot down from the air, a squadron leader of the enemy Air Force, brought to my ward in very, very bad condition, which in triage language was dangerously ill, very low level of survival. So when he came to my acute surgical ward, I did everything as a doctor to revive him. But I was horrified to find that my staff wouldn't. Not my nurses, not my medical orderlies, none of them. And in fact, I was horrified when they passed his bed, they would spit. So I called them all. I tried to talk. They wouldn't listen. Then I used my army force, I said, this is an order. You will do what I say. And I insisted that they did 24-hour nursing and care. And I called him sir because I was a young captain, as he was semi-conscious. And I insisted they call him sir too. And he came out of it, and he was a very nice man. And I, as you say, I began to see the humanity in him. Though he was the enemy, he was strafing us, and he was bombing us, and he had killed quite a few of our hospital staff. But it was done accidentally because the airfield which they were aiming for was nearby. Now, I did something wrong because I couldn't convey this to my staff. They only acted out of fear. What did I do wrong?
Sidanta the group cheje le ngoro ma so group cheje yondu da suse tendene marabata tati marang nurus ke tong dus samlo khalo gyada tis kala khamen mochi karshweji arajuma spiritual ribji ni karshwe taji tadi tis kala khamen ne lamarji ne taji ma chiri kya cherba shem ta kajorda ta marang che to de chesha ane de sane ane ji jena quran midi ya sue ne kwe nam ju ya ba ten na ji jena ku ju ji sam ju wa ta le ko saber chigre je da kyarang gi mi da so kya ba de je man ding do so so ju ku ju tengero ba de ta ten ji yongro ba ya bro ba se ma do ji nurus ke yu mar som ta gangal로 아주 제동 말아봤다. 강가로 삼로 교도 위에는 world peace 차래 this gala khabre.
As far as I'm concerned, I can't see that you have made an error there, no, mistake. Broadly speaking, of course, when in the times of war, when there's casualties, many times, of course, fought in groups. So, who killed who, we don't know. The person is not necessarily the one who caused the casualties or who directly caused the killing. So that's maybe one point of consideration. But you did what you could, and what else could you have done? And for instance, if you are a spiritual teacher, you could have given some instructions along that line to your sort of subordinates. But whether they would have also related to it or not is questionable. And but there is a possibility, some good seed is sown, because based on what you did and how you handled the situation, maybe later on there's a possibility they learned a lesson from it, and also that the person you treated, that as you said, turned out to be sort of basically a human being with a humanity, and maybe they observed that too, and so some inkling at least, or some seed has been sown towards the right direction. But of course, everything that needs to be done that would have been ideal to sort of gotten through doesn't happen. If that were so, then obviously we would already have a very peaceful world. So beyond that, I can't comment.
Your Holiness, how do we de-compassionate ourselves? Because I have a problem of being over-compassionate and therefore suffer intensely, sometimes even more than the victim. And that can be very, very, exhausting and difficult.
Ninji dungni imberda. Tende ninji chimbo yedenge jil dang yam shirama shushingmda. Da mashi ben tunruru tizuli ninji gondusane. Kuzu tgazu chig dungya tso yongene men ngasu tibe yongdo wa. Da mashi kas. Ngasu dungya shar so. Da ineya nge tujun te seri. Ninji sayade 가르사나 동해외 심전 미브로와 동해외 심전데 미별로 동해외 심전을 미별로 단 남바데 동해 찬두체 미선데 동해외 심전을 미별로 치러봐 미유르데 드니르사네 동해외 심전 텔미리요 가르쳐 동해외 심전데 안 동해데 태아르치 근데 저때 동해외 심전텔이야 미대외 소치 대나 아주 삼지 니시스도 사네 그 동해에 경가 삼다제 동해에 경가 망부시 삼단도 사네 동해외 심전고 얘는 아주 띠고 자타고 샤디 거로 동에 심진 그ben 나사르지 미지기 미지 나사 자라로 스포디비나 나사 자라고 스포디비나 얘는 나사 자라고 보다 그 얘기지 넘주르다 뒤집에 하르지래지 에 뒤주고 뒤에서 봐 뒤하르지래 얘네 오늘 샤타네 샤비나고 나사 자라고 리포트 두산 미코랑 잡아야지 호스피탈 잡아야지 emergency 또네 hospital care 때 계셔 비차거로 봐 대마제 그 집에 하르지래지 가서에 동해지 넘주들이 지 집이 가서 안라로 플란지 대대야 디소잖아 디니 그래도 니지 계산을 또 가. 봐. 인주산에 동해 망고지 삼도 안 되네. 그 가서에 다 조디 동해는 타듯이야. 니지디 동해는 타듯이야. 동해는 타와 지긴 냠바르지. 되는지 빠주 로고주야 루지리아 니스그마다 동해 중에 삼도 안 되지. 니지도 깔아가버리다. 다들 누구를 주면 돼. 니지 고모면 동해 고모. 동해 고모 쓰고면 니지 고모 쓰고면.
Oh, well, having so much great compassion, what is there for me to say? And but sometimes I say that probably we need to clarify to ourselves the the focus should be more the being who is suffering, not the suffering itself that the being is having. So the focus is being on the being who is suffering, and to be able to help remove the appearance of suffering. So that because there is a tendency that we more than often get preoccupied by the sort of the dramatic appearance of the suffering. For instance, if a certain individual has suffering from whatever terrible physical harm and physical suffering, and so now you want help and you feel for that person, and if you what you really need to do to help and to show your compassion for that person is immediately to take that person, find ways to transport or take that person to whatever emergency care to receive. But if you were emotionally just so shocked by the appearance of the suffering and just totally sort of dumbfounded by that, then you would be actually failing to do what is necessary to benefit that person. And so you're more shocked by the suffering of that person rather than, the being able to bring out that wish to benefit others. Yes, of course, sometimes when we see some animals that are in tremendous pain, and probably we feel for them, maybe sometimes it feels like them more than maybe they feel themselves, as a matter of, but still the focus is the being who is experiencing the suffering as opposed to the suffering. So sometimes we might have to kind of take a step back and think, are we meditating on compassion or are we meditating on suffering?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Sort of finished? 다들이야 아니 다 다른 수업에 세메시 걸 조지 쉬브레 다 세메시 세난다도 다 간다 되게 담아예 예비임베레 베나데 힌두 기나로 세메시 버지 고마이 여러봐 세메시 고마다 언제 남배나라 세메시 고마 시기하래 제상다 간달 아주지 나럽기 에시 출로 망부지리아 안드레게다 profound teachings 세난다로 명아 초도 유버데 예버레 이내 명아 예버데 집이 핑계야만에 띵아 줄이야 명아 예버디 집이 아주 팬통도 와 드레인두스단에 인지미지 아주 냠솔랭 거부터 계셔버려 단 냠솔랭 두산에 이냥 에야 소수기 로이 누번 재민게 왕기 다 냠솔 내롱 잡으려 망고샤야 되비면서
So this morning we spoke about the four immeasurable thoughts. So these teachings on the four immeasurables is something that exists within the Buddhist tradition, but it also exists in the Hindu tradition, for example. So most of these ancient Asian spiritual traditions have profound teachings and have profound teachings within them, but just the existence of the instructions on these teachings is not enough. One needs to practice. So, and the way of practicing, the method of practicing is also dependent on the mental level of the individual.
제상 아주 티버침변 나놀이야 티버 치중 고름이야 그지 가서 티버 치중 고름 싸만다 티버 치중 고름 샤데요 어디 상에도 티버 좀 인기와 안에 드네인두산다 티버 치중 고름 샤네 다 틱바 사데 가르사나 태과 대과 예 야자외 된다를 봐 되는 주산에 쿨 배는 알아서 돌론 거사 돌로 말다 거사 잘안지고 사업시에 야분한시 되는 주산에 예 두요 같은 거로서는 responsibility 그거 집에 carry up 제도에 봐 배나 년도에 디스트리미는 또 장시디 장배시디 담랑이 코아든 다좀 에네베 되냐체 그것이 고즈 responsibility which 야래 에데 야 두보르스요 근데 야보로 봐 안다나신 안티버치보 디즈에게 아니 심지엔 탐지기 가르래 쿠르 렌체 엔 디즈드 달이야 안 내가차 소수 타바타야 개치면 뭐집체 심지엔 탐지 고알에 다 돼. 개치부 지체 디체도 내가치야 그랬어 니두산 티버치중사디 아주 삼도 두산에 최 지중으로 지금 삼던 거 봐. 근데 뭐이 봐. 또 아니 로인이 버치중. 백기시 티버 첨부지기 티버 첨부기 responsibility 시라 유엔딩이 지기 그 년도기 티버에게 가수에 최대 냠스 랑비네. 그 티버 첨부 최 균로를 마도 그 년도기 티버 지지 되게 말아 봐. 인두산에 다디 개발부터 조디 아니 로인 유배치 중다 쿠르도 쇠 마서 요즘엔 저
So when we speak about the great vehicle and the modest vehicle, or this smaller vehicle, what we are talking about is there's a kind of a gradual order in which you go through here. Now, this differentiation between the great vehicle and the modest vehicle, is something that is done from the Mahayana side, the great vehicle side. I mean, the differentiation is done from the point of view of the Mahayana, the fact that there are two vehicles. So what are we talking about when we say yana or vehicle? A vehicle means something. It means to carry or to pull, to lift or to pull, to carry, to transport. So, for example, when we're talking about a load, it's like something that carries that load, lifts that load, or transports that load. That is the yana or the vehicle. So, the load that we are referring to here is a responsibility, a certain kind of responsibility. So, for example, when we speak about the hearers or the Shravakayana, so their responsibility is to bring themselves to peace, to bring themselves to freedom from the cycle of existence. So this is their responsibility, and this vehicle, the Shravakayana, is a vehicle that brings them to this, fulfills this responsibility for them. So this in itself is very good. The Mahayana, or the great vehicle, is a vehicle which takes responsibility for all sentient beings. It does not consider one's own does not consider oneself alone, does not think about the liberation of oneself, but takes the responsibility to liberate all sentient beings from the cycle of existence. So this differentiation between the two vehicles, the great vehicle and the small vehicle, is something that is not an external thing. It is something that is done through the mental ability or the mental capacity of the individual practitioner. So someone with a great capacity, who would be practicing the Shravaka, the Shravaka vehicle, himself would not be a Shravaka. Yeah.
Today you stand the coach is on CNN message just can do. 제네 다 티버치 좀 사데 드린도 사는 아주 별로 lamrimsa tumongba ane George Bande adishane ma gyuyo meji menga tumongba kandar 상계 가져다 드레스 람도 남지 좀 탐제베 가사지기베 냠내는 자는베 가서 드라이드 로인 유버진베 공배도 당 당번에 거나 가서야지 기부 준비 가서 로인 유버를 심해비네 로림기 장 엔지 기부 준비 유버야베 레트야 다 이제는 간다 상계 덴베게 다 남지림 상로 도도 수여제 기부지기 냠술래야 남지 가서 기부지기 냠술래야 상로 도도 수여제 다들이 지금 명하고 기부지 알아 봐 디나로리아 아니 그런 기부숨사 시가래 기부숨게 남을 준비해라야지 그래서나 그 준비한 아주 정답되지 당번에 지민지대 심지어 함재기 가져 저기 된샤오라서 돼 인주미제 상담 뭐지 매진 로자한테 되게 계속 와 상상 지선전 탐지세 좀 왕무시에 오늘 전에 수수전이기 에너지 멍시 베이직 프랙티스 그 개매비나 선전 탐지에 된 제사도 가 하고 싶어 수수 균용모베想法都 送되버지기 선전 탐지에 된 차와서네 될래라고요 된 심지어 탐지를 펜토기 사람은 느끼 아닌가요? 근데 뒤규전되네. 로림지 장고래 사대 개점입니다. 드레인 주산 땅에 들어서 가래. 다 초진에 그런 랭게기 그런 다 규수에 내 컨트레도 기부치 좀 컨트레도 다 직체 초진의 조중기 아니 그 정다 차이 되지 버지 있어래 마다야지 딱 하나가 타마들이야 참으로 티버지기 티버지기 람 도로 봐 된 도고도 사는 거 정다 차이 유기를 정다 잔자면 봐 가서 내추럴 캐파시티 되게가 구구야나 때깔아 갑시다.
So there is the gradual path to enlightenment of both of these vehicles. The gradual path, which was first the first text was written by Pelinatisha, and this text puts together in a very condensed way all the different grades of the path towards enlightenment. For one person, for a single person, to practice in order to gradually go through all the levels of the path. So even though the person might not be of small capacity initially, but the gradual path, the text itself shows him all the paths all the practices that he needs to practice gradually in order to develop his capacity to reach into the capacity of of someone of a great vehicle of being or great scope being. So it is all condensed into one. All these paths or practices are condensed into one text in a certain order. So there's the three types of beings: the person of the small scope, and the medium scope being, and the great scope being. So the difference between them is the different practices that they need to do. But one needs to go gradually to pass through these in a gradual manner. You cannot start out the practice by thinking I want to benefit all. By thinking I want to benefit all sentient beings. You must first begin from the basic practices. If you do not have the basic practices, you cannot start out by thinking, oh, I want to benefit all sentient beings. If you do not have control over your own mind, there's no way that you can go out and say, I want to benefit all sentient beings or other sentient beings. So there's two things that need to be considered. One is the natural capacity of that person, and the other one is the learned, or the capacity that is learned or developed in that developed through effort. So you cannot you do not wait for someone to develop that natural capacity, for example, to be a great being. This is something that you should develop through effort. You should make an effort in order for the being to become a capacity of the great vehicle.
다 드네 대인주산다 전juk 셈사데 티싱게 가서다 남게 자와로 티싱게 냠랭게 닝부르디 임브레 네 도스람 좋다 다 티싱 팅메시에야 티싱 티버 고 첸로 고야 체 고야 거 가서 이제 교견을 쏘디 전죽선들에도 와.
So the mind of bodhicitta, or the mind of enlightenment, this is the root of the path, the root of the Mahayana. The root of the Mahayana practices, or the essence of all the Mahayana practices, or if we say in another way, this is the main cause. The mind of enlightenment, or the mind of bodhicitta, is the fundamental cause and condition of the Mahayana, or the great vehicle.
따텔이야 전주쌤 나도 전주쌤 근데 짜침 쓰고 좀 센데 가르쳐야 알았으나 따팅 아주 하고 거다 계심으로 받아지 디고 전부 사디 그 아주 심진이 된다지 가서다 심진 현변 샤다 하고 옆체 다 이면에 심진이 현변 샤버지 전주쌤 사디 이제 삼로 미세지 고고 좀 생각하는데 아주 시에나 야부야 알았어도
So we speak of the mind of bodhicitta, and we speak of the great vehicle, or the altruistic thought to benefit others, the wish to benefit other beings. But we must first understand the reason that lies behind it. What is the reason for developing this?
나들이야 example 지어다 example 데 마스 딩상한 디 수부 되시라요 말에 메디신 숙첨부 쓰게요 말에 데린주산에 계셔야 되죠 람상람상 전기민도 데린주산에 답하지 로에 체르체를 로이서래 다 로첨이 입다다 네 로첨이 긴세 가라서가 로니슈저로도 로첨을 쓰고 만다 영원 까면 뭐 군진 카셰 로니슈즈피 짱 봐봐 공부 조선들 망고야 카셰죠 그래서 다인도 나 로치 생이서래 생이서들 전도 세상에 어디서디 가르쳐서나 텔 example 지겨래 example 때 가르쳐나 then one family somewhere 미상치 나로리아 가져다 mesh shopping 다 메셔도서 디낭기 미상티 낭기 김상티 낭 미지 메셔와다가 람상고 메셔 하고네 고 람사 치롤 되지 말았어 다 전주도산에 캄베 고에 템바세 주바 템바 tempa shinga tempa sidu sana ene diju agar gona ba du sana pebelo shinji dangi yo wode ta til khasa wode jige ta tel li du sana kamba ni yu du sana kamba chik chilo kamba yen kari ha ko masta kamba chik chilo ma sha ana kamba chik chilo zu ana kamba 신다 치료를 맞게 바로 나는 그런 게 능미 뒤수 감배 나는 옆에 템버레스 나 대인도 안고 남사야 진짜 하고 능미 껴같이 버렸어 능미 껴같이네 능미 껴버렸어 제가 티버 침부사에 또 대한다고 했어 강바 예지 니지 현대의 미 시럽지 조상의 미사 줘봐 대인 주산 강바 예지 이게 애네다 가서래 니지 현대의 시럽 조상의 미선데야 대시지 개베나 강바 예지 랑된셔도 뼈 강바 예지 현대셔도 뼈 선데 그거면로 봐 랑된 강바 뭐임체 근데 이 녀란테서 또 저니 타바타야 저니 동행 타선다 데 저거 봐 ያን dinera mai biche ran dongel tawa jibi phinglimin do ran la gadin chewe ene simjen dege de dongel nala ma hlong deleng a주 개 가수다 팬도 마치비체 소수 지부 ene 기부 당성 말하다 동el 탄 데데네 처음도스 텔레바 동el 나 hlong 되는 가서랬다 데데데 괜찮을 줄 소수 기부 당 미신다 동el 통도 주는 괜찮을 줄 네 디규전 때네 예발도네 랑드 탄이 숨으로 랑드 코나 많이 봐. 야 현대 경가 전에야 가서 현대 체수 양카시 삼단 수수단 삼로 마다네. 세죠 봐. 네 초스게임도 지잖아.人이야 타바 시원양의 대비 공파 상계 공파 토고요. 때 토바이나 현대 배면 준도 제도하고 누가 용거로 마도 현대를 누구요 말어디 근데 랑되야 야바 현대야 야바 대한 가시 지금 현대 멋이 있어야 돼 대단람사 하고 말어다 당연 내가 뭐 되지 람상디 현대 멋이 있어야 돼 저도 그라 가버 봐 년 되지 삼담이나 내라면 됐어
So these days I'm taking some very strong medicine. I'm not feeling very well, so this might affect also my memory a little bit. Also, I might be growing a bit older in age. So I'm not saying that 26 is old, but actually, when we think about the previous karmapas, incarnations of the karmapas. A few of them passed away at a young age, so I shouldn't think how to say that I'm very young. So one does not know. If I give you an example of what we were speaking about, if for example there is a family. And the house is burning down, and the people in the family, they know the house is burning down. One person knows the house is burning down, and he's running outside. He's escaping, trying to save himself, and he stops at the threshold as his right foot is outside of the door, and his left foot is still inside the door. And at that moment, he kind of remembers his family members who are still in the house, and at that moment, he kind of turns back and goes inside in order to save him. So this is kind of
save them.
Sorry.
Save them.
Save them. Yes, that's not what I said. Oh, sorry. Save them. Sorry. He goes inside to save them. This is the same way. This is this mind of bodhicitta. It says the mind of bodhicitta has. Its object of observation is all sentient beings. The wisdom aspect observes full, complete enlightenment. So this is the same way. This is just like the right leg, and the left leg. one part of this mind thinks about sentient beings to benefit them. One part of this mind thinks of one's own purpose, the attainment of the complete enlightenment. So, thinking in this way, and understanding that it's kind of avoiding the two extremes. Just liberating yourself is not of benefit. When you think that all sentient beings who have been so kind to you are still experiencing these sufferings, just liberating yourself, just freeing yourself from these suffering and experiencing ultimate happiness, that's of no benefit. There's no use in that. So one needs to find the way between the two extremes. Just thinking about your own benefit is not enough. On the other hand, also just thinking about others and completely ignoring your own purpose, that is also falling into an extreme, I think. One needs to do is to find the middle way between these two, to find the mind desiring to develop one's own benefit and the benefit of others in a kind of spontaneous way together.
다들 청주사 청주 섬사데 미유리고 청주 네 저런 상계 고마토야 미유리 들정요래 다들 미유리 저런 상계 고마토야 다 저런 상계 고마토고야 김센데 청주 섬반남을 베 김센데 쉐쇼슬라비나 다 대베 심지 현변이야 심지 현 된다던 잡아야 되지 베가 레송도 가라잖아. 도저람도문다. 상계디 에네 고 현변체의 심지 현변체벌이야. 다 전주선마다 상계니 라가 도스라 말을 저도. 람라 롭심바지다. 람라 밀로베 가사니 옆체. 다 디나네 고 밀로바스들산나 고 타르침바. 람 타르침베 가사디. 엔 상계 차디요아래. 다고 심지기 현재 제발하고 람타르치메 인주산 고 뉴바체요. 드린주산에 고 뉴바체슈디 용바체벌이야. 아니 가르에 베주체고 알았어. 다디 뉴바디 미라지 다 상게 뉴바미라 먹고 알아 봐. 다디나네 조데 가르잖아. 다조 상게스 두산에 에너지 가르에 gyöngkunse yuanden günde enda kanda zodi bangje driba tamjen bang doje shija yuanden tamjen do shija tamje doba yin songor ba da shija tamje doba yin du sane da semjin di nengaji kwato de yarasana semjin sa de taye bji yorwa ado jin zambu lingi species samarba delebe sa chwa kashi jore 다디 아주데 시야래 심지어 탐제래 심여도죠 홀 유니버설 정말 유니버설 다 망고 이겨보다 유니버스 유니버스 야다 다디 타예버지 유주산 디 된체벌이야 고 가서 특시 지그 저거 말에 된치준 고나 소바지 된체 제가 나 소바지 고르마도 특시 지마다면 된체도 말아 이제 상게 딱 상원으로게 시자 탐지 경계에 인사 근데 된치주를 캐버렸어 다 있는데 녀르제야 알다 필로소피 가시 미지기 다 가시에서 탐지 캠퍼스 상계에 대다고 변해 부터 시작한 분들이 아주 미지레선 거로 받아 아주 미지인 빌립진다 미지로 받아 미르바 미지 인도서 미지 에네 시자 탐지 캔슬 주산다디 impossible 가서 다디 가서래 삼담마들 수지 왕에 와시지 저거지 그냥 알았어도 상계기 최 탐지 경기 알아서 되고 로르민도스 이내 마인드 심기 최 탐지 신기 없다스 로유도 저런 좋아 로유도 저런 인자 로예베 다 로하로 지금 유도 뭐 주비 최 유마로다 다들 인주산에 아니 로유도 뭐 주비 최 매비 인자 아니 로이 시자 탐지 킹이 사람마다 상계 시자 탐지 킹이 있어 많았어 근데 등에 꼴 자기야 차지 어디지 어디 교랑 로이 시자 탐지 킹이 여바 케랑바 있나 아니 상계 시자 탐지 킹이 여바 케랭고 그랬어 그래서나 상계 고랑 가르쳐다지 낭심 로냐바 인장 나와도 셈 로냐바 인주산에 고 셈다 예메도 데드바다 고랑기 셈다 고랑기 셈은 히바서 말아 나와도 셈이 로냐바 인주산에 셈기 가제 신기 예비네 디제지 고랑기 시에트비 뉴바 토비 가랬어 데니 인주산 디준센 때네 안다 상계기 아니 시행그래 가르쳐 쳬담지 킹기여바 케랭고 그랬어 다들 가서 예 곧자기하러 지시해 제상 다 간다량 다 내년가 지어래 이내 조조디 최 탐지 캔사디 감들이야 캔고야 개치슈디 가르치시래서나 베지 짝도 묵도 베지 ram데 정말 시에네 야보도 마시에네 저기도 와다 근 아주디 남제나 예바단시 신비 장가도 시에나 야보도 마시에네 저기도 사야지 봐 다 조디 거 대화 탐바스 토고아래 하버도 아니 컴 코르웨 동에를 쳐고요 코웨 동에를 쳐외 탑시 간듯이 여베디 킹기여비나 제 차상 만화와 킹기여비 인상 탐지켜 버렸어 다들이스가 어떻게 비슷하네 단 도나 고랑 가수에 탐지 캠퍼스야디 아주 삼사 탐지 캠퍼스도 이게 토부 시부지라 아주 짠해 가서 제 미투비야지 근데 그 탐지 캠퍼스 삼던 거 근데 매미체 탐지 캠퍼스 다들 제투야 알지 고 리변 고 주비나 심진기 현대차 특리야 다다는 아주 롭존체 엔티 냠술래비입니다 탐지 캠퍼스 중중에 탐지 캠퍼스 첨부시 한로로 봐 레듀산디 sometimes just 단도나 탐지 캠퍼스 주고에 준진의 가르사랑 한다 샘진기 되차기 특히 충중주마다 매비냐 되려 로저체 대시에버체 될라 돈하자고 해야 돼 계속 쉽차리가 그래서 아주 샘진 되차다마도 신당 아주 듀티 가메바스 어디 주시죠
So the mind of enlightenment, we say that it is observing the complete enlightenment, that it's striving for complete enlightenment. So what is the reason for this? What's the reason that we need to strive for complete enlightenment? So if, for example, we take two kinds of people, the completely enlightened Buddha and the person who is still training on the path. So the person who has completed the path, perfected the path, and the person who is still training on the path. So these two people, when we compare between them, there is a difference in the size, the strength of their capacity, the size of their capacity. So the Buddha has completely perfected his capacity, his ability to benefit others. So the Buddha, when we say Buddha in Tibetan, Sangye, Sang is a purification of all faults, and the Ge is the completion of all qualities, the completion or perfection of all qualities. So the faults or the obscurations, he has completely abandoned all the obscurations, and he has completely realized all phenomena. Completely realized all phenomena. So there are countless sentient beings. When we talk about sentient beings, countless, infinite sentient beings. When we speak about just about this one world, we can see there's countless beings within that. But this is just one world. There's one universe. Actually, there's countless of universes. infinite number of universes. So if one wants to benefit all sentient beings, one wants to benefit all the sentient beings within all these countless of universes, one needs one needs many different kinds of methods. Each one of these beings, all of these beings cannot be benefited by a single method. You cannot benefit everybody by a single method. You need to be you need to know many different kinds of methods in order to benefit all these sentient beings. So this is the point. This is the reason one needs to know all phenomena, because knowing all phenomena makes you skillful, skillful in means. So this is the Buddha. The reason he is skillful in means is because he knows all phenomena. We speak about Buddha Shakyamuni. We're speaking about one person who knows all phenomena. So, for example, some people might say, "Oh, this is impossible. You cannot know all phenomena." For example, a friend of mine, when he was speaking to me, he told me that he cannot understand how a person can know all phenomena. He said, "I can understand how the mind can know all phenomena, but I cannot see how a person can know all phenomena," thinking the fact that there's many minds. So I kind of answered to him in a kind of teasing way. I kind of teased him and said, so if you accept that the mind can understand all phenomena, so you already accept that the Buddha knows all phenomena, since the Buddha, the mind of the Buddha, that is the one that knows all phenomena. So actually this mind of the Buddha has achieved equilibrium between the appearance, the mind and the appearances of phenomena are completely equal. So in that sense, all phenomena appear to that mind. It also knows all those appearances. So in that sense, it understands, it realizes all phenomena. It has reached this level of equilibrium. So when we talk about all phenomena, there's countless different kinds of phenomena. There's phenomena that we would not think are necessary to know. For example, when we speak about the Brahmavatika Karika, it talks about knowing the enumeration of all the different insects. So this is a kind of a phenomena that you can know, or if you do not know, that's also okay. It's not something which is necessarily most important thing to know. It's what is important, the main thing that one needs to know, is all the different methods without exception of leading sentient beings to freedom from the cycle of existence. So knowing all these methods, this is really what we mean when we talk about knowing all phenomena, is knowing the countless of different methods of leading sentient beings to the freedom from the cycle of existence. So we talk about all-knowing and we think, oh, this is something very high, something that I could not achieve. But actually, right from this minute, we need to begin by training ourselves in these methods. Just knowing one method, in that sense, it's knowing. Just one method. Even the smallest method is still a method. So we should put our attention right from this moment into training in these methods, even the smallest one. And this is our duty right from this moment.
얘네 주사는 탐지에 기하면 되는 얘기 지금 있는 시합이네. 개체수의 시저 탐지할이야. 아주 이제 도나시하다. 지 가서 respect 서버네. 자데 개심이 있어요. 다바도 변은 좀 저번에 돌려야. 지 가서 미색 지 가서 동해 내 타시 디게 주베아키. 배 탑람 저번에 돌려야. 출루단 제베 탑람 야 망고야래 출루다 만제베 탑람 망고시다요 아래. 아주 출루된 제베 탑람 제베 있는 출루 전부 망고시다요 아래. 이제 상황은 아주 탐지에 기업에 되는 얘기 지금 있는 시합입니다. 상황을 구십체, 상황을 로정체. 엔데지 가수에 도나치고 돼. 좀 시작해샤 그래서 디줄이야 댄스네 고지 가사 담데 뭐지 가서에 동해 대신 대화 토야기 람테누 람텐투 예비 인두산 아주 예바도 되게 상을이야 귀셰비 제가 정도 마서 롭존체 대다담 귤레베 죽버체 가서 귤레베 죽버체제 안에 셰비 제가 계속 시작해서
So this all-knowing mind, knowing all phenomena, starts by putting attention to each phenomena. So there's many different methods of bringing sentient beings to happiness, of relieving sentient beings from suffering. Some of these methods are related to spiritual traditions, spiritual religions. Some of them are not related to spiritual traditions. There's many different methods. What is important is that we respect all of them. That because each and every one of these methods, no matter which spiritual tradition it belongs to, and if it's not related to a spiritual tradition or if it is, each one of these shows the path to a certain kind of person, to a certain a person of a certain disposition, will lead that person to happiness and will free that person from suffering. So this path, this method in itself is something very important. So we should study all of these different paths. We should understand. Understanding all of them is something very, very important.
탐지기 뭐 되는 일이에요. 이제 뭐 저와 다가 바지 다 좋아서 방가라니. 대견이 존존이 다신다 간다야 다 간다. 다들 다 도도디 아니 냥에는 잡았잖아 상계 사사는도 간다야 아주 다듯이 대화도 동해 아주 정말 대화 되고요 알아디 이내야 다다버도지 대화 남아 대화 탐바 대화 초도 기버지 아주 데벨로킹 버지 중요한 말이에요. 대가래서 아주 뒤경기지 대화에서 아주 사제기 대화 봐 사제기 대화에서 둘사네 그거 가져야지 오늘 지나다 동해를 차디 걸어봐 사제기 대화 인주사는 대화 오늘 쳐요 말에 아주 디지스 세주바디 가서 아디 디베즈르지 베나 뽕보 이연발이야 네 또 챌린지 고와서 유르보 키비나 온나그레스 나윤두사네 뽕보 예배가 봐 뼈잖아 급텔이야 근데 심배 초하러 준 거래서 아다 이 고향으로 초하는 거래서 따이네 양고 뽕보 예배가 유르보 그치미네야 아 양고 나그러 봐 디네인두사네 동해 초왕아마지당 치모 뭐좀 버루텔이야 에고 초와 디 고향 그렇지 버루들 고향으로 전부 인상 딩이 텔레야 아주 초와 대화를 시험받으면 오늘 저는 초와 대화 말했어 초와 대화 동해맵의 초와 동해맵의 대화 말했어 아주 토고야 가라서 동해맵의 대화에서 토고 인도산 다 된도 동해맵의 대화서 하디 지금 7로 안에 지금 아주 가서에 매트리얼스 뭐 7로는 토야요 어쨌든 7로는 야 까라고 시작해 내 남준이 미소 시대에 당하랑 섬주를 시 그런 상황으로지 experience person 경계 인도산다디 그런저야 수랑수술이야 아이디어를 유기로 받대 대화스도 가르치스요 아이디어를 유기 제가 내 아이디어를 가르치는 대화사디 유엔된을 심지 심규기 유엔된실이야 대화스요 심규기 유엔된실 베나 촉시에 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 촉시 데 에네베 아주 노르기 나는 초도 교가 대화해서 봐. 데리도 사나고 데리 촉시에 윤대지 여비나 될 되고 오늘은 이제 대외 소화를 좀 언딩 이렇지. 대화사 낭심교 윤대지 마도베 칭을 대화사는 까라갑샤래. 데리도 사나다 동해매베 대화치 토고 여비는 따지 심딩네 토야마도 치료네 토야 까라갑샤래.
So we speak about nirvana or Buddhahood. There's the happiness and suffering that we ourselves experiencing, or the happiness that we experience. This is not the highest happiness. What the actual happiness that we are experiencing is what we call contaminated happiness, which is actually referred to as the suffering of change. This is not true happiness. This is not real happiness. So, for example, if you are carrying a certain load on your right shoulder, and after a certain time it starts to become heavy and uncomfortable, and then you take that load and you put it on your the other shoulder, put it on the other shoulder. So at that moment that you changed, you put the load on the other shoulder, you'd feel a certain feeling of ease and comfort, just because you have removed the previous suffering that you have experienced. So this is just a temporary feeling of pleasure. This is not something that will last for very long. If you continuously carry the load on the other shoulder again you will experience suffering. So this type of pleasure is what we call contaminated pleasure. It just arrives at a certain moment by relieving the previous moment of suffering that we had. And it will not last. It will cause the next moment of suffering. It will bring on the next moment of suffering. So this is not the happiness which is separated from suffering, what we call the happiness without suffering. This is not that type of happiness. This is the type of happiness that comes in dependence upon external material, upon external things. And this is not the real happiness that we are seeking. You each might have an idea about what happiness is and how to achieve happiness, but I think that happiness is an inner quality. Happiness is something that comes from within the mind. This quality of having satisfaction with what you have, being satisfied, that quality is an inner quality of happiness. So happiness is something that comes from inside. Something that is not dependent on external material possessions, something that comes from inside, that we develop from inside. This is what I call happiness.
Bena 사실 this was pressure 마다 pleasure joie longue pleasure 대단 happiness non-rest 가서 this was this non-rest pleasure 미망부지 happiness 에 longue pleasure 좀 거기에 joie 주가로 longue 디기 삼다인 주사나 고 뭐버지 고도 뭐벌레베 딘더베 happiness 때 뭐벌레 냐와라르베 에네 가서 happiness 주지 고따 디디 베나 좀 뭐라지 버지 타서나 아니 고디 니마 카시에르니야 내가 지 샘디 지 뭐라도 통연디네 지 샘이야 가서 이제 심벌어지다 롱제베 손하러 지원도 레베 레베 초하러지 가외 초하 다 가외 초하러 지원이 가래 다 이네 니마 가시 진짜나 꼬슴 가와도 매우 잘하고 와 그냥 야 남주는 시대 트레이드스안에 다 아주 거두이네지 뭐 벌을 잘해 되베 진두스 거두이네 다 기본화 탑시디 거두이네지 매트리얼이 된 것도 또 기본화 차 삼삼 변 파티 당 삼삼 시장 관조 삼삼 해킹 제 맞아요 리간의 아치 해킹 I'm sorry Tene samsang kare fish. Tabe nyasingan rogo yundo. Fisher. Ta drin du sanan dam de job ye chen ta. Ta tandu ngazu dam de mangmo chidi garo ta. Ta ji ko ta sue. Digi ji yong go are ti digi go ngobo tel tena ma do togu mebe sonaru yong de drin du san ta. ngobo de so ma chen ngazu samme 제사 교육인가 인도 산에 다 델 프레셔 연구 말다 다 사버를 가르쳐 와도 건강한 뭐 되지 네 땅아 주지 사버 제하러 가도 와 대섬 건강 단디 거로 다 이네디 깔아 가보러 봐 답변은 미지 뭐라 가고 싶지요 비나 또 뭐라 직뉴 니뉴 뭐라 야타면 녀토는 저 동타지 녀토 말어 봐라 뭐라 동타지 녀토 그러베 맞지 녀토이나 가시다 다 간다를 전에 that not solve the issues 말보다 지금 어떻게 주셔야 될지 내드리지 말아요. 대주상 개발도 아니 happiness 주산에 ben다고 뭐보디 칠리 연애에 매내서 그런 삼노탄 happiness야 되고 남주의 배주 당하려도 금생 삼노탄 아 가르쳐야 되니 가르쳐야지 소소들었지 대신 기발했는데 가르치네 초대버려도 가르치는 손보대 내버려도 가르치는 기본도 꼭 금생 삼단 주사는 신의지 그 happiness 가지고 요한지 마다지 금생 매매터네 초와 feeling 지부터네 happiness 원에지 양도 깔아 갑시다 그 금생 삼단 양다버지 남주 배주다 제인도서 아니 신의지 가서야 happiness 임비 초와를 수용되도 와 예던 것이 satisfy 자라고 금세 삼다로 와 드가스 you feeling satisfied 깔아 가버보다 이다 드레지 충분히 인상 다 딱다 인상서로 지 셈리고 로데버지 삼다로 금세 삼다와 야나고 아주 니루 삼다로 지 드리지 고로
So, some people, when they talk about happiness or pleasure, they look at this as an external kind of object, something that they seek it as an object of, as if it was an external object of enjoyment. For example, you buy a new car, so for a few days. After that, you kind of experience a sense of satisfaction, a sense of happiness or pleasure. These kind of feelings arise within you for a few days. But after a few days, then it kind of pacifies, and then it's not there anymore after a few days.
happiness 아주 너무 중요하대.
We mistake happiness and pleasure. We mix them up. The temporary pleasure and the sense of happiness. We mix these things up. For example, this kind of feeling of pleasure that arises from buying a car just for a few days, we mistaken this for happiness. This kind of pleasure, in order for it to arise, is dependent on many many external conditions on many things. For example, we might have a party in order to feel this kind of feeling of pleasure, or we might play music, or we might go hiking, or we might go fishing. So all of these types of pleasure that arise through these things are things that are dependent on these external conditions. For this pleasure to arise within us, it is dependent on these external conditions. And since we've already done most of these things, we are constantly seeking for something new to do, needing something new in order for this feeling of pleasure to continuously arise within us. So we might buy 1 car, 2 cars, and then 100 cars. I don't think we could buy 1,000. I don't know. Maybe. This is not important, though. What is important is that what we are seeking is a certain kind of a feeling of happiness that we are seeking is something that is not dependent on whether we are near the object, or if we are not, or if it is near us, or if it is not near us. Not something which is not reliant on these external conditions. Something that we use our intelligence. We need reasoning in order to develop it. Something that arises through this analysis of why am I experiencing happiness? Why am I not experiencing happiness? Why am I suffering? Through this analysis, through the use of our intelligence, not something that is merely a temporary kind of feeling, or temporary feeling that arises within us in dependence upon an external object, but something that arises through analysis, through reasoning. For example, this sense of satisfaction, being satisfied with what you have. In order for this to arise, you must use your intelligence. You need to use reasonings. So this kind of reasoning, this kind of intellectual analysis, or for example, analyzing the way things exist, this is what we need in order to generate this happiness.
Dewa 대신 기분이 원데 배수르지 아주 좋습니다. 전에 딱 대신 기분 사데 아주 좀 미스되기 때문에 사데 근데 짜서 용어서 되고 말았어. 고서 말성도 미스 렌즈를 배가 아주 용어서 이제 망보스에 초스게 믿어와다. 드레인드 가지직이 가서에 심플 내처 가서에 쩨마문이 병안에만 네트비네 대수직이 아니면 디기를 타녀를 주고요. 주고에가 전화용도 드레인드 사바랑 가서 곰게도 사네. 아주 또 뭐 가서 곰게네 고라야지 가서에다지 초야 보용되는 이제 셈마 곰잡이 잡네 或셈마 휴아찬도 뭐 용용도 다들 가르쳐 버렸어 곰잡스도 그 미세자스게야만 다 조디 소수익 셈데 칸낭도 초 셈낭도 봐 로징 알아지 캠바크 홈 서머리 다들 비치 아니 이제 데베 니주 디줄에 아주 가서 제대시람 가서 데베 니주 디주 제den게 맞지 마음베 니주 디줄에 아주 와리스게 맞지 또 지리야 까마카시 지리야 아주 다대기 present 서머 다라안이야 그거 르르스 데데 주사네 우리 정신기 거 가서다지 대가랑 게지 셈리야 신다가 먹어봐 no need other conditions for summary. That got ranking ranking the year on the young door. Then you stand daddy. Today you stand daddy got to gom jedusan, gom jedusa the young door. That in there, the gom jedusan did the soil on the finger of my day to day life. Tina Lolia, conditions, the digital cashway. 소화 이침버를 이제 전화를 컨디션 개고래. 어디 계시면 지도와. 드린주산 다들 day-to-day life 나는 심지직 내제 대대스 개요 말봐. 내가 저래. 아니 다나신 배 가서 자와침보시다 예배 인두산에 뒤균선 때는 심지직 내대는 개요 말에. 또 이미 내가 좀 삼단식으로. 삼단체. 거라 가지고 아주지 파요 전시스는 다도 다 파요 전시스 개만 중에다고 삼단체. 배는 나랑 뒤기도 시. 지당 아주 busy 매사나지 busy 예대 버릇이. 레주산에 busy 예배 거리야 그뒤네지 소소 지가서 satisfied 소머네. 지 다지 디기 삼로 양이 안 땡겨. 삼던주 산에 그뒤네 가주지기 레라당 symbol nature 드네지 삼로 가주 망당 토비네 디지기 디기 전한데 망용데도 드네주 산에 다링게 상로 다나신 균도 투섬 세네야 뭐하래 곰갸베 급서면 봐 튀균 니리 나노 차와체베 걸리냐 등게 녜셔야 균생가 토나 니루도 균생 삼단체 근데가 토나는 다가다 디기세야지 영악 배수셔고 하되 개점을 삼정도 아버지 디레르 디제를 좋아지는 생각 가서래 당 아주 준서 말들이 예 준서 말서 거다 계란이 뺀 정도도 돼 아수 써야 돼. 예 왕부 공연 준서 말했어. 그지야는 대제는
So in order to be happy, in order to generate the sense of happiness within us, I don't think we need all these kind of bothersome, troublesome, complicated things. This is not necessary. In order to develop this kind of sense of natural, effortless happiness within us, we need to look inside. So, for example, when we meditate, when we kind of focus inside and meditate, we develop this kind of inner feeling of peace. The reason for this is because we turn our mind inside. As it is said, we kind of come home, not thinking about the past, not remembering the past, not thinking about the future, just remaining, not worrying about the future, not thinking about the past, not worrying about the future, just kind of letting our mind remain at ease, relaxed at the present, just at the present moment, without wandering anywhere else. So this kind of ability to abide, this kind of feeling is something, this kind of state is something that is not dependent on external conditions. You do not need anything external for it to arise. So, but just this kind of, also this kind of state of meditative state, that in itself is also not enough, because we need a method in our daily life. We cannot remain single-pointed concentration throughout, single-pointedly concentrated throughout the day. We need to work. We need to do things throughout the day. so this in itself is not enough. So what we need to do is to remain conscientious, mindful. Not only that, but we need to kind of think, analyze. For example, if I speak about myself, then I'm quite as we would say, a busy person, and throughout the day, in order to kind of bring this kind of feeling of satisfaction, I analyze, I think, through this kind of analytical thinking, try and remain in this kind of natural, simple kind of natural state of mind, and through this happiness comes. So this is something that you need to do on a regular, continuous basis, thinking about using reasonings, using your analytical, intellectual part of the mind in order for this kind of inner happiness to kind of arise. So I think...
네. 이슈의 지시나 참선 이제 전화로 지원도 뭐가 가서 니면이가 대화시비체 내가 망보시비체 지균 망보시비체 딱 원다 사람으로야 레스비산 딱 드린 가르쳐야비면 은혜 딱 드린 가르쳐야비 바스 게제테 인도산 은혜 가르쳐야비 대야 시킨다 주시죠 니면인가 알레 내가 레 대화체 다이네 원다 다 수수지를 비켜체 드린 가르쳐야비 최윤도산 은혜 전에 가르쳐야비 대야 매버스 참도 이제 괜찮으시도 어디 니만인가 제 아타마르도 오늘 가르쳐봐 임스도산 대한민국 그렇지 이 가르도잖아 아주 니만인가 내가 자디 시신 전신도 재미도 와 거드네 드레스 거를 가르쳐야지 다 프로그램으로 도시에 인도서 거 this 죽침을 중국어는 시 가르쳐도 거라 중국어는 시 거라 오토매틱들이 침벌마도 수수 삼신 전신 시신도 계세요 매베스 인도산에 기생 아주 니메를 자와 가르치비냐 다 참말로도 삼신 시신도 제대로 깔아가버려야 돼 자와 카시에지 아주 삼신 시신도 전부 댄신도 제비나 다디 end of the day 그런 드링지 this meaning you have 드링기 니마디 meaning you have 다 전다 you have 소수 타나 소수직 제비 임바스서지 용서봐 이제 계속 버리셔 다도 조들이야 안다 사위스 안다 좋아가자 좋아하시잖아 좋아가 좋아래라 뭔가 난 네팔 두부마당 로치
So I also remember this, something I want to add is, sometimes we're very incredibly busy throughout the day, working throughout the day, very, very hard. And when the evening comes and we kind of sit and think back, what did we do today? And we can't remember what we did. We work hard, really hard all day, and at the end of the day, we kind of sit and think, try and come to a conclusion. What did I do today? And nothing comes to mind. So the reason that we have nothing to show throughout the efforts, our whole daily effort, we have nothing to show is because we have not relied on kind of introspection and mindfulness. Kind of like a machine functioning automatically throughout the day without any mindfulness or so this is so it might be very difficult to develop kind of mindfulness through all our actions, but at least for a few of them, if we could develop mindfulness and introspection just for a few of the actions or activities that we do throughout the day, this will make our life meaningful. This is without this, it will be very difficult to make our life meaningful. So Umeshe added from before, he said, so maybe I'll stop here. I'm a bit exhausted. So maybe we'll have a few questions. Yes, five. Yes, we'll have a few questions. Maybe five
simple questions.
5 simple questions, and please don't torture an ill person.
Your Holiness, my question is really simple. A few minutes back you mentioned about the Bodhisattva, the Bodhicitta trying to find ways of releasing people from the cycle of life and death, not just in this universe, but in many other universes which exist alongside. I have never ever heard of this concept being mentioned. Can you please elaborate on what other universes are we talking about?
Universal responsibility. Maybe we should ask Rajiv. At the Sadi Tapena Umar Rujina. Siri Gishavinata. Siri Gishavin Uma Galaxy Marwa Galaxy. That the universal rare sometime Rotambo. That the Sidusana, universal Sidusana. The galaxy Korama Imba. Around the galaxy chick. That is the galaxy Mangu. Takatako, the Unet in universal Koranga Chijun Kade, Hakuya Mare, Mikatonga Mare, Tarjibe Tache Tundusane, and another universal USRS. That is Siri because Yorba. USRS. You have a Chabashi or Chaba. Aha. Nabasangi want to Chavina, and the Jidian Cabram Shigare, Universal Manguya Shigare. That the Liabazi Drumdon Shigare, the Indusana, and the Simsi and Tamsi against Dusana, and the semi Yodojo. But the Jidian Kamshidale semi Simsi Gurbata. This is to Shahorba. Tatatan to Shito Marvata. Yen the Baron Casway. Zabulin di simje twensia, masih kasih dah. Ngele kurang tisajat balik marbat. Ada universal leg marbat. Tapi ini ni ko jember cik salam ko tobat ko lein du sana. Ane ko nubacam ko tuan du sana. Karena singham jawat saja be kiji be. Tapi yik jokse jawar. Tapi tisi light jokse jawar. Tele sim jawar jawar ba. Tadi channel be kiji lah ne. Jiring kamram jamnya cinje. Ne cik simje tuan siapa. Tadi dia mau sungguh ba. Dari zorin ber be yang harus coba. Tapi orang aja berarti minggu berarti orang aja seminggu itu jo. Seminggu itu jo tuan siapa sih.
At this stage, maybe even on a scientific level, the scientists are beginning also accept that there are the possibility of other universes. Previously, we talk only in terms of what is immediately sort of visual to us, and when we talk about or think about the great constellations or the galaxies, and we think about them as being sort of another universe or part of universe. But now having a better sense of what they are and what others worldlings or space is possible to exist, so that is expanding. and maybe there is. It's not just limited to what we only see or what we only know of. But from the Buddhist, the science of cosmology and Buddhist philosophy point of view, there are innumerable, so millions of universe. There's therefore, in fact, innumerable universe. It is being pointed. So there is possibility. And when we are talking about, therefore, sentient beings that Buddhas or Bodhisattvas need to benefit, then we are not limited to certain species of beings or beings only within certain different worlds or universes. We're talking about wherever there is sentient being meaning endowed with the consciousness and having the ability to feel pain and happiness. So to taking into account of all sentient beings. And not only had the Buddha talked about in the teachings, and is also said to be a possibility of the scope or sphere of activities by highly evolved beings, great bodhisattvas, great Buddhas. It is said that in 100 million universes, there are 100 million emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas performing activities, and that also at the same time, like in 100 million places or universes, that 100 million manifestations of Buddhas become spontaneously present at one time. And we talk about the speed of light, that is how fast light travels. And in this respect, maybe the speed of the mind traveling through from whatever one universe to the other and so forth, the speed of mind is many more times faster than that of the speed of the light. And so in this way, yes, the possibility is talked about.
Thank you. I just wanted to know, what is the definition of kindness and what are the forms of kindness?
Kindness ba byoge gyab da khase.
Jamje. So the deshe the kindness na ta jamje the tam the deshe the kindness and the number the kindness.
Kindness dyung kara chambare gyor.
Same sangbo.
Kindness.
Kindness. The deshe.
Loving kindness 를 chamba. Dini nyamdo su domjadi.
Kindness.
The good heart. My English is not that good.
So I think what His Holiness wants to know, when in order to when you're talking about kindness, what you are intending to refer to?
Loving kindness or kindness that keeping.
So, what I'm trying to ask is that what are the what is kindness? Is it being respectful? Is that kindness? Is being compassionate? Is that kindness? And or just being quiet?
Okay.
Or just being quiet in a difficult situation, would that be a form of kindness?
Okay.
So, just what are the forms?
Sure.
Kindness no karela serious. Tadi kawajo desim dana pejing unjun desim desim. Tadi the karela serious shen kushab yabachilia. 제브질이야 시기오레스 신기야 디 라가카리네 또 주도마 제브제 소소랑가 되나 대다와질 시기오르다 직신이야 지 퉁규르키 가리네 직
다 로직대로 저도 재와르 지저가다 재와르 지저 아, 이제 사주민도다.先借不了资本就慢着，什么感觉？先借不了资本就呗，啊，移动完到了，用给钱不了就呗。We have some heavy discussion. 그거 나소용 좀 나소용 좀 딜레라시레시 나소용 좀 나소용 좀 주주세 그 제심스도 타지도 가르에 타지도 시작을 하버래 가시기 배나 제심스야 되고 인지민지배 가르 넘규 곧 넘규디 시외기 넘규 돈에와 작부의 넘규 돈에 곧 참서 제주 용식으로 배나 아마르지기 랑갈 판트로디스ane 모델 랑갈 트로디스ane 아마도 부지여체 안 부디 만투스에세 랑 모델 랑갈 판트로디스 아마데 셈제시오 랑지 공로의 젠 추태나 그 내가 그 공로 제배 작부로 봤다 이 대체심 좀 말아야지 참서야 동양들이 연구를 받아. 다티 그 셈제시우지에 인상. 안데 맞아서야 제주산 하고 셈제체네 하고 넘주 잡거든 이건데 그러 봐. 다티수랑 아주야 디 배바 냠는 친구 뒤수 kindness 리스크다. 배배지 나중에 냠는 친구 뒤수 직자와를 진비진 문제죠. 다 이미네 삼성양고 culture different 그도가 culture 가시나 되도데 가시 두자츠거든 용도가 근데 뉴스나 딱한다 kindness 아도 조조 셈기 기지레 뉴스나 셈데 딱 근데 아주 시행 말아 봐다 오늘시나 딱한다 조데 현라 제버는지 봐 지다 현 이동 왔다 그렇지 그래서 소소를 매도하러 지비나 매도 나와로 지비나 다디 균 쇼르도 토 봐. 대 균쇼약 토 봐. 다나신 딜레야 가르스지 가르스 다보 장게 미라 토 바르 지 딱한다 딜레야 가르스지 균 쇼르도 토 바르 제시 팡 봐. 디지 야부 마샤베 있는 팡 쳐. 유류산은 이동을 쳐. 다 근데를 지 여베지 면도. 그 넘균 라면 양식으로 봐. 다디 된지 신마스데.
So if by a kindness, if it would mean being kind in terms of caring for others, it could be somewhat different from people to people also, and the appearance, while it's kindness or caring, but not necessarily the appearance of expression of one kind of kindness is not necessarily the same as the expression of another. So sometimes it could manifest as very gentle, and as the attitude is, the expression of it is also very gentle and caring experience. In other cases, it could be more sort of uncaring in terms of expression.
디사저 베르치리아 룸버지리아 아니 아바디 구마 규주사는 부디 상대레스 상와체드레스 다들 taking care of 지로다 룸버지리아 아바디 구마 규주사는 부디 police 지대샤레스 다들 taking care of 지 다가
So then if
culture difference
if mother is going with the child, crossing the road, and then with the car coming by, and with the feeling of much love or caring for kindness for her kid, and with the she was upset as well as fearful of him being hit and pulse, and so there is some degree of aggression involved, but the intention was kindness in terms of wanting to protect. So then sometimes that out of wish for somebody to be better, that is out of feeling of caring or kindness, that one might end up even spanking kids. Well, so from maybe a Tibetan Buddhist point of view, there's skillful means or the approach necessary under the circumstances, because it's under circumstances. Maybe in other culture it might be regarded, no, that's not, regardless of whatever, that's not where you show kindness to anybody. So it could be culture. Then also deep down, of course, it's very difficult to read, because when we're talking about kindness or caring, it's talking about some feeling, some outlook that is generated through the mind. And so if therefore to describe how it has to be and what it's like, that you have to mentally generate, is difficult to say. And anyway, is almost adding so in one place, the father of the household stole something, and out of caring or kindness for his father, the child didn't tell anybody. In another place, the father of the household stole something, and the son or the child reported to the authorities, the police, and both did it out of good heart. So what do you want to say? Different culture and different style. So it can manifest. The intention was essentially the same, and this way my father will never do it again or whatever like that. So essentially it would be cultivating the feeling of cherishing others. And there's something about others that is very appealing to you. Actually, you make others like that of a beautiful flower, and that you cherish, and it's very beautiful, but and it's very appealing to you, and so but it's very delicate. That needs careful attention, and so there is because of the beauty and so forth. There's something very adorable about it, and sort of appealing about it. Yet, at the sense also that it's delicate. That there's always the chance of it's losing. You're losing it, and something happening to it. So maybe if you have a feeling of towards others, the wish to cherish, and that in your outlook that somehow others have a very appealing impact on you, that might be the kind of loving kindness or kindness you want to generate.
Okay.
Yeah, His Holiness, my question is simpler. Are you a happy man? And if yes, what brings you happiness?
Sometimes simple question also is difficult. Answer. True.
Are you a happy man?
Guru Amita Bajan Kera Yundon Jadu. He thought he had the words of Amita Bajan. Okay, please speak Tibetan.
Che talk to English. Che talk to English. Che talk to English. Chindu when talk to English.
Happy man. Yang ma chi shen. 기본도 라는 캔사원도. 아 기본도 슬라비나. 그래서 깔래만 with the responsibility 강에 obstacle 망부 쉽지 주산. 기본도 슬라 캔사를 또 어디. 디 코란지 챔버지 냠내 쉽지 연도도르지 뛰어댕 거지. 기본 매슬라네 데 라표음도. 미망벽이 배 가서에 알이야 가서에
The tea is at 4 o'clock.
로봇 집체리 아래 미망배 모놈 집디 아래 다 단동아 기부 민도스라데나 다지 드민도 어디 다 드린두스타네 기부 열라메라 어세 녜두인 제 정예 오늘 전에지 수수 삼바던 시지 기부지네 가라 하버리샤스 다 이미네 다 고가수에 기부 민도스 자원의 민주 매번 재민도가 가라간 저지 거지 가수에 삼만의 시대 가라하버리샤 딱 얘기 기부사야 돼 마시네 얘는 나 기부 유매사야 기지 지도상 얘는 나 유매에 삼다나 나 중도네 로 둥게네 나 감마버는 위지 체인주사나 지 수수 게르트사야 같이 매버 차로 이렇게 연구를 받다 미게랑 부치체 미게지 인주사네 미지 인주사고 삼동다를 찍고 까마버스 양꼬치 양꼬 가르치바 까마버 제베니 뭐되네 양꼬 소수 게게 저 장완도 좀 알려 당고로 봐 안 게게 장완다 르 당되면에 고 당고야 쳐가 다 되네 까마버 중국도 뭐 당하지 이제 트레이닝을 제 아니 까마고 제아들래 고 지진 좋아하들래 레라우스케면도 없이 지금 많아 주셔. 근데 삼자 기부 매매 소나용도 도스. 그래서 나랑 게테네 매매 작소스. 다 뜻이 까마버 제벌래야 없이 지금 많고 싶다도. 땅에 가져 버려라. 아, 인주사네. 다 될래고 야부지 용기 매매들 저와 잡는 시지 뭐 좋네. 땅에 저와도 뒤지 마티산 뉴르 다시 저와시다 마geb체. 땅에 저와도 심볼을 써야 공수마다 심볼 것이. 이 심볼 마셔야. 심진 신다는 펜탑이네 야부레스. 펜 자시면서 마토비 이미네 수수베 심진 신다는 지 가르쳐 재와를 장체. 도 소초대바 코랑 소초대비나 어다가는 점물이 더 토리아. 가당 알아야지 하삼 가르쳐 점물이 토리아. 에너지 미지 다가다 소소리아 자와 유에 된게 지당 에너지 라선노도 유에 된게 미지 유에 삼바로지 다 전적으로 미지 근데 템비네 이게 도스다 펜도 신나게 뭐 중에 근데지 이 전로 체비네 이게 도스 근데 다 대대 알아 다들 레라로 주세요 데리드 땅에 다 저디 미신다 가부 총나 가부 소토나 하나 수집으로 정도 가르사나 미신다다 소소니 버지다 오늘 전에 삼성 가시에 디스도 교랑 가르라 가부 예사 지금 마무시에도 땡엘 디주산 렌자 가라고 싶도디 가이나 제가 소소 매매 차사임자
I think it's only saying it's not an easy question. It's a very difficult question, particularly to him. And if I say I'm happy, I have a great deal of happiness, and then obviously there is so much challenges to face, so much difficulties, and then on top of that you say I'm very happy. It sounds arrogant. it sounds like as if you are like highly evolved practitioner. It just doesn't fit in that way. But on the other hand, of course, I could probably, it's not at all say I'm unhappy. Because that being the object of the good wishes of so many people, being the object of the affection and prayers of so many people, and how dare I say, still, I'm not happy. And so, from that point of view, and also, it's somewhat difficult to say. But in that sense, I'm somewhere there in between. But then also, actually, when you say, I'm happy or I'm unhappy, so then there could be a sense of I. But for me, that since a young child at the age of 7 or 8, after recognizes the karmapa, and that time, I got taken over by karmapa. So, and so there is no individual that can claim for, anything. That and then, now of course, I is gone and karmapa has taken over.
Karmapa has come.
No, karmapa has come. And okay, so you go through the trainings of, what a karmapa is supposed to be and everything. Oh, but boy, that means encountering all kinds of obstacles. And so, incredible number of obstacles. Now that's quite a bit of a challenge. And so in the midst of all of these obstacles, it would be difficult for one to say, oh yes, extremely happy. But on the other hand, one way that realizes that, you can raise the bar of your expectation, lower the bar of your expectations, and so myself having lowered the bar of the expectations, then things have become much more simpler. Whatever you can do, things are, I don't know about the simplicity of the question, but lowering the bar makes things much more simple. And but the fact, even if I'm not of much benefit to others, or for that matter any benefit to others, the fact that I have feelings of caring for others, that for many I might be considered an object of trust, and that some object of in terms of faith, and so in this way, to the extent that I can be something like that, I'm quite pleased with that too. And so then, like as I was telling earlier, that sometimes people ask me the question, like, what do you like, like, so. And
no, it's okay, it's forget. This is a no.
And even that also difficult to answer. No. What do you like means that I have been given up long time. Something like that. I has been replaced. So to say I like this or that, it's
no, it's okay. Another?
But
I think it's finished. No, it's okay.
Finish. The last one not finished.
Last one.
What brings me, if we can say, what brings me real happiness is anything that I can do that makes other people happy is what brings me real happiness.
Your Holiness, you just now talked of so many challenges and obstacles. So, can you give us a brief idea what you have thought of in your present life of these particular obstacles and challenges? Whether all these are continuing from your previous lives, or are these you are facing them in your present lifetime? And a little bit of your insight, like the lives of Karmapas, how we learn that it's a continuity of 900 years.
Okay.
And it's a request from all of us. Can you have a brief session of meditation also at the end of today's program?
Okay.
Tanda di gaje mambo take do sonda. Te da jadang te kuje loju testwa konzola sonda te yenas. Ta lo jadang kuje kiring loju yebin zan tinde. Tanda ben gaje sondu kan ya di kuje di thol ya nyongsimbe do sangaje. Jadang kande do gaje tene ya pa nyemane pa mutuni yodewe chik tinde. Tene tande 대단님도 잡지 군족하시잖아. 곰튀 됐지 좀다.
근데 거기서 같이 가셔. 가상 대비 거에. 정말 여러 선이 제소소래. 다들 로그 얘기 내주지 못 시작하고 저는 가라가버려 뒤수스케면 선인데 아주 대사버지 되어요. 그게 거 내주다 대사버지. 제가 대사버지 넘어서 생게 비비나. 안다 로그 얘나로야 간데 차도. 다지 긴거봐. 당에 obstacles 맞아 obstacle 상으로 열어봤다. 근데 인도산에 내 미세 인식에 슈메 다 이미네 아니 다 오늘 지 슈린 샤버스 개민도 인도산에 미세다 obstacle 견도에 아주 다 드린데 시행명이 유시 다들 시린 샤버스 개민도 상으로 열어 obstacle 상물로 여비 인도산에 근데 내 미세인 도더지 시아스 개민도 아니 마시네 아니 가르에 조조디 가르에 다 obstacle 사데 지당 안 한 게 되게 정리요 막 오늘 전에 치기 obstacle 오늘 많이 봐. 소수기 obstacle 소수소리야. 소수에다 가서 오늘 전에 자와 다 이些봐. 라주비나. 다들 obstacle 최셔 big obstacle 바디. 인주산에 7월 obstacle 망보 총벌에 되네야. 자와의 이체 말라브를 체제 근데 배주셔리. 인주산 대말라베진라 big obstacle 매베르지. 다데 그둘라 하고 했으면도 가가 버지 봐. 다들 이제 안디 메디테이션 데 등에 메디테이션 자신입니다. 가가 그래. 즉잖아 드링 Good Friday, Earth Day, 가지. 비메지 레스도와. 제 드링 주스타네. 그나저 지진 선이 공개를 준 거래라. 다 조대 대리바치 엔지 가스에 그나저 지 강바 마신데다 딜리듯이 지 그나저 링가를 위해는 야나 매돈 두르르 위해는 대리바치 engo kuyudi 안소리야지 자와 첨부체네 만아주 초회 시를 리체지 돼요래 and Titoleva, Sarang Galway, Blasi Galmadich, Durgalmadich, Sarang Galmadich. And Yana Gom Carsway, Dosi Kitum Jaco, Yana Panedi, Guyana Kaina. Society Kuludan, the Carsu, Sosu Peru, Javajilia, Nature, Sosu Tataji, Titalia, Kudin, which Sonar, Tension Betone, and the nature literature, Gamaji, Devina, we get stand Dwamada. That's a Pajigon, yeah, we get it on those. Georgian and Aje, the Masne. Nimatsama Jervata, in a dream is a jazz language in Canada.
So, in commemorating the 900th anniversary of the Karmapa, a book is produced, and so
second edition.
Second edition, and you will be. This book will be distributed to everybody tomorrow. So instead of having to go into long detail of what so for you to, this is just to share with you. And then as far as obstacles, actually, I mean, everybody has obstacles. So there, it's like as if to say, my one is more better than yours, or more unique than yours, so let me highlight on my obstacles. Other than that, everybody has obstacles, so there's not much point in talking about obstacles. One thing is, personally, and this applies to everybody, more important than that. The
biggest obstacle.
The biggest obstacle is instead of inner obstacles. So, for instance, if one within oneself, one has given up all hopes and deprived oneself of confidence, now that would be a serious obstacle. That would be the real obstacle. So this inner obstacle is more serious than any other external. So as long as your hope and your confidence of possibility stays with you, then any obstacle could be surmountable. So I'm thinking that I have such hopes and confidence. When they'll vanish, you never know, but it's there. And about the meditation session, maybe we might be able to do tomorrow. But I understand today one is, it's Good Friday, and on the other end it's also Earth Day. And so, what I might suggest to those, for any one of you possible, is that after we're done here with, if you can, if the possibility is there for you to go to a park or some place, where nature, and so, and sit right on the earth, not a concrete or not some artificial something. Sit right on the earth and sort of sense of being in touch with the earth. And it is thanks to the earth that our life is sustained. Sustenance is the earth and all the related natural resources. And so maybe with some sense of being in touch, appreciating, recognizing, and then spending some, so appreciating the environment, spending some moments in contemplation or moments of being present, and either through getting into meditative posture such as Vajrasana, or just simply lying down, or whatever is comfortable for you, but just bearing the point, of the bearing the purpose of it in mind, appreciation. And is almost just at the end added that I don't know why today has to be Earth Day. Every day is Earth Day. Without it,
What? Okay, okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, okay. Yes, very nice. Yeah, thank you. I think I'm finished. My speech is finished. I don't know when we finish.